Hey guys, hey guys, hey guys. I'm trying to see where Brandy is, guys. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you see me? Hey guys, can you see me? I want to make sure that I told her the right time. Hello? 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 I want to make sure that I told her the right time. Hello? 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 How come that's coming out of my phone? I want to make sure that I told her the right time. Hello? 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 Guys, can you see me? Can you hear me? Hey, 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 can you guys hear me? Yeah, I know. Can you hear me? Yes, you can hear me? Okay, well, I don't know where Brandy is. I want to make sure I told her the right time. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. She's running about 5 minutes behind. Oh, she's without power. Okay. So she's about 5 minutes behind. So how is everybody today? Excuse me. How's everybody today? Texas got hit with some. Is that where Brandy is? Because I don't know where she's at. Hey guys, I got 2 gifts. Check them out on the community pages because I got a really beautiful sun catcher that says thank you. I don't know where that came from. It was an Amazon gift from one of you guys. And I don't know who sent that to me. And I got Booberry, 2 boxes of Booberry, and the dogs got toys. So, and I know who sent me that, but excuse me, I don't want to put that out there in case they don't want to be known. But thank you so much. My dogs love their shit. They always love toys. They're eating peanut butter right now and those freeze things. But they got some really cool, like breakfast toys. Yeah, I got Booberry, man. 2 boxes of Booberry, and who'd have thought? Booberry's got a new character. Like, it's not just Booberry. There's another like marshmallow in there that's pink. So I'm excited. I'm gonna have some of that tonight at work. You know, I'm bringing in that. I'll grab some milk at work, bring in some Booberry for me. I'm psyched. I am so psyched. So I'm a little excited about that. So, guys, thank you for joining us on this. And this is really important, guys, please, because I know that Brandy is controversial, but I'm just asking let's be kind because I think that that's the right thing to do. And this channel is about giving chances to people. And, you know, I think fancy is very dangerous, as you guys know. And I think some people might have been caught in that. And maybe they didn't let, and I'm not speaking about Brandy. I'm speaking about anybody that might have been associated with fancy and how fancy could have made them look number one, and how maybe people get caught up in things and it's Milo, get down, and it's not necessarily who they are. What do you think is going on with you that you are going to try to cabinet surf, buddy? You don't counter surf in this house, young man. Hey, Brandy's here. So Brandy's here. So how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hang on. Hang on. Wait. I want to do something too. Hang on 1 second. Don't go nowhere. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on.
There. Oh, look, we're in the same house.
There we go. There we go.
So
I don't
sorry
want to
I'm
mess with
running
that,
late.
but I can appreciate it. I don't really want to do that. But anyway, I figure what the hell? We
I
would
didn't even
start
realize
there.
mine was still on.
The only thing I don't like about the virtual background is it messes with the hair.
It
And I
does,
already
and
got issues with the hair.
yeah,
So
mine is like all kinds of crazy. We had a really bad storm like the very first half of the day and had no electricity.
yeah,
And
that's
then
what. Are you in Texas?
yes.
Okay, somebody said that they had storm in
Yeah,
Texas, so
we
I would
actually had a
assume.
tornado about 30 miles away.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Wow.
it was rough. And then like, about what was it, 3 o'clock the sun came out and no clouds in the sky and
Right,
beautiful.
right, right.
I'm like trying
Right.
to kill us an
Florida.
hour ago.
Florida does that. It's a beautiful day, and then at 4 o'clock, it'll hit really, really hard. And then it's like
Yeah.
it didn't happen at all. It's really, really weird. And by the time 6 o'clock hits, there's nothing more left on the ground for it to be, it's all evaporated up from the sun and stuff
Well,
that's already
we have
dried up.
been it's rained for the last 2 weeks. My yard is and I've got the chickens and the ducks and the geese, and so it's just a muddy mess. It's awful.
Wow. 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 So I told everybody, um well, not that I told everybody. I asked everybody to give everybody a chance here because I know that there's some controversy, but I also know that there's a lot of times, unfortunately, fancy could, and not just fancy, but people could bring out not always the best in us, and we get
Mhm.
caught in that sometimes. And, so I know that, you have told me, and we've spoken, and you've told me that there's things that you did that you weren't very proud of, and that, and so I guess the main thing, if you want, and, at anything you don't want to say, Brandy, then I want you to just say, listen, this isn't the place I want to talk about it. And everybody's going to respect that. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Um, so I guess the main thing is, what is the biggest misconception about you, or that you want to set the record straight about? What is it that you want to set the record straight about?
Um, there's been a few things. That I was involved with anything with Dawn emailing Nick for one. And I showed proof of, and I meant to send those to you, and I can send them to you real quick. The text messages or the screenshots of the chats that I was in, and when I actually joined Fancy's
That
team.
I saw that on Veda Jade, right? Did you
Uh
went over
huh.
that on Veda Jade? So I did
And
see
I did
that.
it on mine, and I did it on mine where I showed exactly the date of when I was added into the main by proxy chat,
Right,
which was July. I think it was the 26th of July, late July,
right,
of 2019. Um,
right,
and I even sent you my very first email to Nick, and I've only shown that twice. I've shown it to you, and I put it in Reddit one time, trying to show that I actually went to Nick and said, "This is what's going on. This isn't. I'm worried about you," kind of thing. Um,
right.
I'm trying to think, what are some of the other things people say? I don't look, I don't listen to a lot of it sometimes, and then
That's
when I
good.
do,
Good.
because I know who I am, and I've shown proof, and my story has never changed. Even for
Right,
those that don't like me, my story's never changed. Did
right.
I go back to Fancy? I mean, do you call that going back, me just being friendly and being on a panel with her? I don't
Here's the thing about that. I think that there are friendships that, I have distanced myself from. And, sometimes you find yourself in the same room with the people simply because they might be friends with other people that you're friends with in the real
Mhm.
world. I mean, I I have always been cordial, and if I was asked a question, I definitely wasn't, I didn't, bring their shit out. You know what I mean? Like, cause you
Right.
try to do the right thing for even the people that you're around or with, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So, but there are people that I distance myself from that maybe friends are still friends with, and you can't, that's their road, that's their journey. You can't, I'm not somebody that has ever said, well, if you're friends with them, you can't be friends with me. I've never been that way,
I
and
learned the hard way
I
when
don't
I
feel
did
that
that,
way.
it bit me in the ass.
Yeah,
And
and like nobody likes having an ultimatum.
right. Well, and then when you do that with other people, and then they do it to you, you don't feel so good. And so,
Yeah.
I lost time with friends over internet drama. over the last 5 years. And that's the one thing in 2022, after my serious health scares and that battle, life was too precious. And I just didn't want to lose time with people anymore. And it just became different. I just looked at it differently. And last year when I went, and it wasn't even going back to fancy, it was, we need to get to the bottom of this. There were some things that were shared that it was like a light bulb went off for me with the late Mama Dukes. Lord, may her soul rest in peace. And I'm not speaking ill of the dead, but there was just some drama that had gone down. And when Ryan Lee had shared the screenshot, I was like, oh shit, the light bulb went off and I realized what had been going on. And we had our little falling out between me, her, Christie, and Kendall. And when I went to Christie and I said, this is what's been going on, and I started laying it out, we started looking back all the way to 2017 and
Wow.
seeing where she was behind a lot of things that had happened that nobody understood. Everybody thought it was all Christie and or this person or that, and she was maneuvering behind the scenes with a lot of things. And I told Ryan, I said, I need to get this message to Fancy. She said, you two need to get over your shit and talk. And we had each other blocked because I just didn't, she had accused me of stealing her company, she accused me of espionage, just all the shit. And I just didn't know if I wanted to go there. And then when we started laying it out, it was, there is a part of Fancy that I do like, and it is that when her and I talk about a case, anything but Gypsy, we have good dialogue. And her and I did a live on my channel comparing Gypsy and the Menendez brothers, and it was an amazing live. It was, and I'm telling everybody, see, this is the person I like to talk to. This person. It's this other stuff that in the behind the scenes and the crazy that it's like, stop it.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
I can understand that when somebody has passion about something, that they could thrive on that, and they could be the best brainstorm, that you could be the person that they brainstorm with. I have a friend like that, but then that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it took me a while to realize, really, that's all I really like about this person, because everything else about this person,
and that's where I
they're
was
just
at
not for
when
me. They're
when
just,
the stuff came out with Dawn Bowker and she threatened her in January. That for me was the final nail.
I've heard you say that several times.
I was so pissed.
That story seems to be the one that made you say, yeah, I can't associate with
I
somebody
mean,
who
she
could be
had
that low.
she tried to put me in with her and Katie Joy. She said me, her, and Katie Joy are going to take the Blanchards down. No. I was still friends with Christie. I'm still friends with Christie. Why?
Right.
No, and I don't like Katie Joy. I want nothing to do with her. 10-foot pole kind of thing. And we had already had a big fight about it. And then she kept trying and trying and trying. And I finally just went to her and I said, look, stop it. Don't put me in with this. I'm not involved. That's Switzerland. I'm not involved. And she got pissed and said, I'm blocking you now. Well, okay.
Right. Well, I could believe that, because as soon as you disagree with Fancy, it's like, and that's, I think that Fancy honestly has a lot of, or had a lot of good ideas, but it was the follow through. It was the fact that she can't finish anything. And
She has too many ideas, too many.
and not just that, she's an idea person. That's okay. But you have to have somebody that will do the follow through. And from my understanding, she doesn't even have confidence in enough people. She wants to get involved after they're involved. And it's like, wait a minute, you have to either give it to somebody or you do it on your own. You can't, just have your fingers in everybody's pie and move shit around. You just can't do that.
In my experience, she would have each of us doing something back in 2021-ish. She would have each one doing something. And like her and I were working on stuff for YouTube, and we were going to break down Gypsy's medical records at that time and kind of give a good synopsis where people could start understanding things. And she said, well, we need to get a timeline. I said, okay, I'll go to Titania and I'll get her to give me just a synopsis where we can lightly put it together. And I did that. And then she was already telling Ty something totally different. And then Ty got mad and then Fancy jumped in and I'm like, I'm out. We're not playing this. You want me to do something specific, but then you're telling other people to do something different. And then you're mad because we all found out. And it just
Right.
too many things.
Right. So when she got involved, how did she get involved in the whole Gypsy Rose case? I mean, when was that? How did she get involved?
So when she was like the rest of us, we were just in the different Facebook groups. I've been following Gypsy's story since 2015. I didn't know at the time that there were Facebook groups about it. It went until the act came out that I'm like, oh, there's such a thing as a Facebook group with this stuff. And she was in the groups and she met Christie. And I want to say it might have been Mama Dukes' group that she met Christie in. And she started talking to her and just pitched her this idea of being a producer. And
that was after the act was already
right before. That would have been in 2016, 2017.
So Fancy, did she know that was already being produced? Did anybody know that was already being produced?
Yeah, they were already working they were doing the HBO one and the different ones. Oh, it might have been 2017, 2018.
Right so by the time, what was it that Fancy was trying to pitch them that they weren't already doing?
It was going to be a limited series, scripted series, I believe. And by proxy, and there was a lookbook. They called it a lookbook. I had never seen it until they gave it out to Natasha. Natasha showed it, and it was embarrassing. Okay. And I guess it's basically like a short draft of the synopsis of the show. And it was scripted, and then there was supposed to be an after show where we all would talk about our part and what we were researching and the drama that was happening and that kind of thing in the groups, because the groups were crazy. What we see now, it's really the Facebook groups on crack. I'm not gonna lie.
Haven't been in the Facebook groups, to be honest with you.
I've left a lot of them because it's just magnified in it. You can't have, I love to have a good discussion with different opinions, as long as we're all respectful and can go, I can see where you see, I can see your side, but please see my side kind of thing. But when they start calling names and being ugly, I'm just out. I don't.
Right.
Not worth it to me. Not anymore. I did all that. I did all of that back in the day.
Right.
My phone go off. I was, they called me her bulldog. I was in the groups and I was defending her, and I held my own with some of the biggest. So,
so when Fancy got involved, so the act was already out. So she wanted to like do another thing like the act. Because that's a scripted drama.
Right. I think that's kind of what it was. And they had decided to hold off on what they were doing to see what the act put out, to see if they needed to change gears on what happened. And then things fell apart. Things fell apart in 2019. When I joined in July, Christie had already left the project. We were not in any of the same chats. It was one of those, Christie was out, but she was still trying to work with Fancy. I think she was hanging on because she sometimes hangs on to people when she shouldn't. And Gypsy had finally said, it's either her or me. I'm done.
What made Gypsy finally say, you know what, I can't deal with you?
She wanted things at that time. She wanted things to be left out of the media because they were taking her and Ken's relationship to the media. Fancy kept doing interviews. And there's two sides to that. Fancy says Christie told her to, and then the Blanchard said, no, they told her to quit doing interviews. I can't tell you which is which.
Right. So, I mean, did it come to that she didn't have anything? Did she have any finished products? I mean,
she had done, her and Tori had done Sins, and I want to say there was another one that was half done, but nothing like somebody evidently stole the footage, and nothing was ever put out into the media onto any platform of any way.
So she just didn't have, because what Gypsy wrote as far as the you're fired email to
Which was a good email.
I thought it was. Yeah, I did. I gave her credit for that. It was basically that Fancy really had nothing.
We had not. I went to them in, I want to say August, September of 2019 and said, I want to do a podcast. I wanted to podcast. That was my heart. It was what I wanted to do. And I said, why don't we take what we have and put it in a podcast? That's something we can start making money on it. We can take that money and put towards by proxy show, whatever we want to do.
That's a good idea.
And we started working on the podcast. Now, I left before, I think we had 2 episodes recorded when I left, in an explosive kind of way.
And why did you leave back then?
So, in the first time I left, it was we were leaving Facebook to go to YouTube. And at that time, I didn't understand YouTube. It was foreign to me. I didn't think it was a good idea. It really was. It was the better idea to leave Facebook and go to YouTube. I didn't understand it. I didn't know how we monetize. And that Fancy didn't either. She said, wait, they can pay us for our information. Well, we weren't monetized on YouTube. And you know what? It takes time to get money on here. It's not like we roll in it. You have to put a lot of content out.
No, it takes time.
And she was being very ugly towards our supporters, and I didn't like it. And we had a huge fight, and she told me that her and the executives had decided there was no other conversation going to be had. And I said, well, then I'm out. And I left. She came back. I went in about 2 weeks. I was gone about 2 weeks. She apologized, and I came back. There was still a lot of tension. Like we were still having, we weren't okay.
Right.
There had been a lot of stress. We had gone through a lot between her and Natasha, and when those pages had come out that she talks about and the things that were being said, we were worried about Fancy and what her husband would do. I was on if I wasn't on the phone with her, Christina was. We were scared. And
scared how? What do you mean?
We were afraid of his reaction and that he would hurt her.
Really? That he would put hands on her?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when she talks about that and how bad that was, she's not lying on that. It was a very scary time. Now, I look at it now and go, she kind of had a part in that too, because she would go at him just as bad as he would go at her. But we were worried at that time.
Right, right.
And so it was draining. I was mentally drained, and I had been coming off my own mental health scare the year before, and I don't think I was ready. I don't think I was prepared to deal with how much and how draining it was. And so
she's like a friggin' vampire. I mean, I see that. Absolutely.
She is an emotional vampire. And I don't know that she means to be honest. She really needs mental health help. She really does. And I'm not saying that to be ugly, and so nobody take it that way. I mean that.
No, I think you're showing a lot of grace, because I think she knows exactly who she is and she doesn't care. That's my opinion. But you know her better than I do, or you are just showing a lot more grace than I would. But anyway, that's fine. It's your story.
For me, I would hate to not give that grace and it be needed. I think, will I have egg on my face? Maybe, who knows?
Right.
But I've definitely given her a lot more grace than she's ever given me. So it's
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's who she is. It's hard for me. I have no more grace for her, because I'm so appalled by so many things that she has done that you just are. I don't even know how you redeem yourself in this lifetime. I don't know how she could redeem herself over the Nick thing and manipulating him so that she could.
Luckily, Nick was pretty onto her, and he had a lot of people telling him what was happening. So I do think he was protected from her some. I don't know that she says she never turned any of that stuff in. I couldn't tell you if she did or she didn't.
Well, even if she didn't do that, and listen, I would believe probably that she didn't just because she's lazy. But even to just go in and play with his mind is dirty enough. That is just warped and just that's horrible. People just don't behave like that. And to go in and mess with somebody who's doing life in prison because you were trying to gain favor with somebody is just a horrible thing. And then to turn around and there's just so many sides of ugly to her, Brandy. I mean, you know, I know that, and I don't want to get into the Sarah thing because I think that um I think that there's legitimacy on both sides, but not with Fancy. But I think that, you know, Sarah got manipulated and that
Oh, and
whole
I agree. I
situation
agree.
shouldn't have happened like that. And the woman is legitimately of ill health. And then, to turn around and to do that to Dawn after Fancy herself had said that Dawn was back in school and she was working at getting her degree and had turned her life around, only to turn around and say the most horrendous things about somebody who's in recovery. That I don't know how in the world she thought that that was going to make her look good, because she lost hundreds of
She did.
subscribers on that, because everybody knows at least somebody if it wasn't them.
Well, and
Everybody knows and loves somebody who has suffered with sobriety and addiction, and they have found grace. So the fact that she couldn't figure that out, I mean, like, that's somebody who is so reckless. They catch themselves after everybody else has pointed at them. That's not somebody that learns. That's
right.
somebody that tries to manipulate a certain situation. And that's Fancy is the person that she doesn't, and I'm going to diagnose this. Fancy is the person that she doesn't stop for a second to enjoy the moment she's in. She's always looking for that next moment. And she is never
100%.
going to find anything doing that. She will never find anything doing that. And she should know that, because I think that's been her MO for a while. And how is that working for you? Like, stop and get it.
Right.
Creating the same situation over and over again because you're repeating the same actions over and over again is insanity. It doesn't, that you're going to get what you give each time. That's the way it is. So at this point, I'll be honest with you, I have there is nothing that is that I could find in Fancy that is any kind of thing that looks like grace. Not at
Well,
all.
and I've taken some heat for my comment to her that if she came out with the private stuff, that I would come out with hers. And because they said you're doing the same thing she is. Okay, that's fine. I'll take that all day long. But if she comes out with Dawn's private trauma that Dawn trusted with her as a mother figure, that's the only reason Dawn shared that stuff with her. If she comes out with that on these platforms, you better bet your sweet ass I'm coming with those private details she just told me in November. I have two things, and I will come with them 100% if she uses that to hurt that woman.
Yeah, there's no reason to hurt this girl. For what's the
There's not.
situation? She's not even saying anything.
Mm-mm.
She's not even
She just wouldn't come on and do what
telling
Fancy wanted
untruth.
and lie.
Right. Yeah, and telling untruth for that situation.
She
So,
wanted to throw people under the bus to save her own ass. And the old Dawn, when she made that sentence to her, I need you to do me a solid, the old Dawn would have done anything for Fancy because she loved her that much. And the new Dawn that's healed, that's done recovery, that's done her time to better herself, who
right,
has said, I know I shouldn't have done what I did, Nick. I should not have
right,
been in a relationship. None of that was good. She's
right,
owning that. And she's like, no, they had nothing to do with it. You did that. That was you.
right,
And
right.
immediately she turned on her. And that's what she does. And that's what I try to tell people that that are in her circle now.
Well,
She's
they
the
should
more
know it.
money.
They see it. They would have to see it. They
Mhm.
have to see this. Because I mean, they have to see it. Yeah. And, you know, I feel like, she's just been really nasty with the content creators because she's been called out. That's not going to bode well for her because now,
Well, she's bouncing everywhere because she's lost everybody, and
yeah,
I
but the
mean
content creators have joined forces.
mhm.
And like, you can't listen. I want to just say this right now, that I didn't see the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So that's why Bree and Fancy got together and did that Becca Scoops thing. That Becca Scoops thing had nothing to do with the videos that Becca puts out. The thing that, not only did that piss me off because it didn't need to happen, it was all diversion. I have to say that Fancy did the same thing with the person that she said was originally Becca Scoops, who I guess would have been the
It would have been his the wife that
the
was
current
married to him.
widow, right? The
Mhm.
current widow. And by the
Yeah,
way,
that was completely
that was
but she's
Fancy.
but
Fancy
she's
did
done
that.
that.
But
We've seen her do
wait a minute.
that.
Fancy did that, and then she blamed Becca Scoops for Fancy getting the wrong person, because Becca Scoops didn't make it easy and say, yeah, that's not me. At one point, Becca did say, I need to say it's not me because, it is somebody else. And she did come out and say that. But had Fancy have done any of her, listen, and I'm just going to talk about me. So, I was following Fancy and her, at this point, by the time Becca came out, I got to be honest with you, Fancy had lost credibility with me because she had already gone with, she yelled that she was the self-proclaimed expert more than anything else. You know what I mean? Like, that was what she yelled more than anything else. And look at how many things she got wrong.
Mhm.
And then Becca Scoops comes out. I know Becca Scoops from nobody at this point. She comes out with this video that blows my mind because it has all the information. It's very easy to follow. It's presented in such a way that makes you want to know more. And at the end of the video, I'm like, holy shit, when's the next video coming out? Like, look at all this information. I wasn't the only one that thought that. This woman had thousands of views. Like, this video took off and everybody was talking about it. That's what pissed Fancy off. That's what pissed Fancy off.
Oh,
That
I
was
agree with
the
that.
only thing that pissed her off. Bree has got this ride or die for Gypsy. I don't think that's healthy because, like, where's your real friends? I'm sorry, but like, where's your real friends? And, I know that you have a relationship with Christie, and my problem with Christie, there's a few things, and I don't even know if they're a problem with Christie per se, to be honest with you, because I don't know Christie. You know what I mean? Like, I know the Christie online. So the things that I have a problem with, and really they should mean nothing because I am nobody to this woman. My thing is, it all comes down to Gypsy. It's not even Christie, it's Gypsy's behavior, and I don't know how much a stepmom should be responsible for Gypsy's behavior unless you're like co-signing it. My biggest thing, Brandy, is Gypsy, and it's not. I don't want to get into a fight, a debate. Okay, a fight, no, but I mean, I don't believe that Gypsy suffered Munchausen by proxy. A lot of people don't believe that she suffered that. So a lot of people believe that, according to the autopsy, that Dee Dee was overweight and Dee Dee could not catch up with Gypsy if Gypsy wanted to leave. And she had left. And I just read somewhere, and maybe this is wrong. I read that she was actually with Dan for a while, not just one night by the time that Dee Dee went and got her. I don't know how true that is. I just read that. And that it was closer to a month.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So again, I just read that. And that it was the roommates that got sick of Gypsy and they called Dee Dee and said, come and get her. But so my thing is, she could have left at any time, and now, and she didn't. So that somebody that, let's say she didn't even touch her mom, which I believe that she did, but let's just say she didn't. We know that for a fact, according to Gypsy, even she had Nick do it. How does how does Christie stay in the same house as somebody who she knows did that? Like, I'd be
And
afraid.
that's really a question Christy would need to answer. But I know that in my conversations with my friend, and this is where you and I are going to differ, and this is,
Okay,
um,
that's okay.
do I believe that it was Munchausen by proxy? No, and yes,
Okay.
because I believe in the things that I've seen, the things that I've read, the things that I know in digging into this and looking at other files, the files that have not been put out, um, that it was malingering and that there was a psychological abuse happening over the 24 years. And I've done some research with other adults who had the same kind of um, abuse. I'm just going to throw that because I don't know the exact word to use here, where the mom would get them to say they were and pretend to be sick and all of those things to get the attention, to get the money, to get the pain pills, to get this, to get that, and in all of the ones I've talked to, it's a psychological thing that even to this day, years later, they struggle with, and
Mhm.
they knew it was wrong, but they still did it. And
Right.
so for Christie, they do still firmly believe in the Munchausen by proxy part of things, and they do feel safe. And
So they
now
believe in the Munchausen by proxy, not the malingering, like, and you believe in the malingering
I
more.
believe in the malingering more than
Right.
I do the by proxy, the Munchausen by proxy. I think it started because if you listen to Dr. Yorker, she says they all start out with real issues like um, the lazy eye, and then the moms they're getting attention, and then it kind of grows from that. And
Mhm.
so, do I think that there were some medical issues that needed some help? Yeah, I do. But if those things were the main cause, she would still be having problems. That's how I see it.
Mhm.
Um, now, Gypsy now today is an adult woman. Christy's not responsible for what Gypsy says and does.
Mhm.
That's like me with my kids. I have one that has a horrible track record. She does shit nonstop that I don't agree with, that I don't like,
Mhm.
and she gets in trouble every time I turn around, and I'm just sitting there going and waiting for the phone call, you know,
Right. Right.
because she's an adult, and so
Right. Right.
um and that I just but that's just how I see. I don't know. I see it a lot differently than you do. I see it a lot differently than even Bree does.
Mhm.
Um and Christy agrees with me on a lot of things. She doesn't agree with me on everything.
Sure. Sure.
Um even Kendall and I, and everybody knows how close Kendall and I are, we disagree on a lot of things with it.
Mhm.
But Kendall is the one that helped me understand that part on the mom and doing the things with the doctor to make mom happy, basically, because that Kendall had that life too.
Mhm.
And Kendall explains that I have a video where Kendall gives her story and kind of gives some detail on that. And it was like, oh, it was pretty eye-opening to hear um another adult talk about that in a different layer. And she went to school full time, she had an outside life.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Listen,
could have
I understand the manipulation of a mother. Don't
mhm.
get me wrong. I understand the manipulation of a mother and how a mom can make you feel guilty, and and that kind of, that's um that doesn't help the case and what
I
happens.
don't think this case is a cut and dry case. I just don't.
Well,
I
it's
don't.
certainly not, because it's, as we know,
There are a lot of layers to it.
yeah.
But
So,
what I tell people that are constantly going on and wanting Gypsy back in prison and thinks Gypsy's never been out of prison, take that up with Missouri.
well, no, I feel the same. I do. I feel that too. But so my my thing is that I know that I understand the malingering. I know that the malingering happened. That's very clear. And I believe that I just believe that there was other ways for her to if there was Munchausen by proxy, she would be the only person that would have ever unalived the person that had the Munchausen.
So there is a question. There's been a few comments, and this one, they're trying to say I've gone real life on 3 people for
Okay,
fancy.
guys, I don't even want to talk about that. I mean, like, let's have a conversation. And if you want to address what was just brought up, I'm trying really not even to read the comments, to be honest with you.
I was
Okay.
trying not to because I knew it was probably going to be kind of crazy, but I don't know who they're talking about. I've gone real life on nobody. No one.
Okay. Yeah, I just right now want to talk about what's going on here. Guys, before we started this, I asked to please let's just do this so that we can give Brandy a chance. So this isn't giving somebody a chance by just throwing things at them. If you want to ask questions, we can ask them, but let's not just go throwing things at people. All right. So otherwise I'm going to shut the comments down, guys. So let's do it in the right way, not just throw things at people. Okay. So my big thing with Gypsy, and this is the biggest thing with Gypsy, is that I feel like, and I feel like a lot of people feel like, and this isn't your fault. So I mean, okay, even if you believed it, you could believe it. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
there are people that believe this. I feel like Gypsy had a lot of opportunity to get out of that house the right way, and she chose that the way that she chose. And I think you've heard me say that I think that it goes even darker, because it's in my opinion that Nick wasn't even supposed to leave the house that night. That's what I think. That's what makes sense to me in my head. You know my theory about how it
Mhm.
was supposed to be like a home invasion. Of course, that's what I think. And my question with Christie is exactly what it was. Why would you feel safe? And you're fair in saying, hey, listen, man, I can't answer that. She should answer that.
That's
And there's nothing
she's
wrong
told
with
me she
that.
feels fine. So
And of course, and she must, because she lives there. Right. So I mean that's evident. So,
and if
and
I'm honest, I would feel safe with Gypsy.
you would feel safe with her.
Mhm.
So do you have any kind of relationship with Gypsy? Because I don't know,
We don't talk
honestly.
privately anymore. We have. When
Mhm,
she was in prison, we did.
mhm.
I haven't since she's been out, other than when if I'm on the phone with Christy and she's there and we're talking. Um,
Right.
but other than that, no. No,
And
my
so
friendship is Christy. My friendship is with Christy.
and when did that start, and how did that start?
That started about a little over a year ago, year and a
Okay.
half. It was before Gypsy got out. I was not a fan of Christy in the beginning. Was not. As a matter of fact, I was pretty hard on Christy. Uh, said some pretty vile things about Christy, and Fancy didn't force me to apologize. Was not happy, but I did it for the project, and that was in 2019. And then I did go to her later on and say, "Hey, I want to talk and clear the air." And I explained to her my reasoning by how I felt. And for me, she was a part of groups or a part of Natasha Cooper stuff. And Natasha Cooper at that time had groups with memes making fun of Gypsy and saying very horrible things. And I could not understand as a mother supporting somebody who said things like that about my child.
Right.
And it pissed me off. And I had a hard time with that.
Right.
And we started talking
So
and
Christie was friends with Natasha
mhm,
when Natasha was doing that?
mhm. Well,
Okay.
after the fact, she became friends with her or started talking to her when in like July of 2019, I think it was, when she gave her medical documents and other things from the Google Drive. That was one thing that scared me when I joined the BiProxy team. It was right around the time all that happened, was within weeks of Dawn and Christie and a few others leaving. And when things were taken out of the Google Drive and given to Natasha, I was like, oh hell, I'm the new person on the block. I'm fixing to get the blame.
Right.
So
Right.
it was kind of like, oh shit, I'm fixing to get the blame for this. But it was Christy and Dawn and another girl that had
Mhm.
given, and I'm not saying her name because she ain't involved in any of this, but
Right.
they had given Natasha all that stuff. And so I didn't understand. And then she had become friends with Katie Joy when that whole interview with Katie Joy happened and that big mess. Um, Things exploded, and I was very angry with Christy, very angry.
Mhm.
And so it was in 2022 when we started talking.
Right. And you just wanted to clear the air with her, and then
Mhm.
through that you saw Christie
We
in a
just started
different light.
talking, and we would talk about everyday life and what's going on and just different things and developed a friendship.
Well, that's fair. You don't have to always agree on everything to be friends with somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
You don't always have to agree with them. Big stuff, I think. Yeah, but not always everything you have to agree with them. Um, all right, let me see. I have a family emergency. I just want to make sure this isn't somebody
uh-oh.
saying that. Um, so okay. No, it seems like everybody's good so far. Um, so now with Fancy, where do you stand with Fancy and everything like now?
We have not had a conversation, and I don't. Well, okay, I can't. We've been on. She's been on a couple of panels that I've been on, um, and other than that, I don't want anything to do with her. I'm with this stuff with Dawn. I've seen her in a even worse light than I did before. I did not think that she would go that way again. I thought she had changed, and seeing her threaten Dawn the way she
Let me
did.
ask you, what is it, Brandy? I'm sorry. What is it that made you think this woman changed? I'm because every time I
You would
watch a
think I would have
video of her.
learned.
Well,
You would think I would have learned.
well, I figured
Um,
maybe she did something that made you think that she changed, something she
she
showed
was.
you.
We were having a lot of private conversations, and when I would put my foot down and say, "We're not crossing that line," she would respect it. And so I thought, okay, she's changed.
Okay.
We're growing here, and and then it started kind of going downhill when she started the Katie Joy stuff, and then and then I got the proof that she threatened on, and it was like, she has not changed, not one bit. Then
She
the other day, she
Everybody
even
got the
said,
proof that she threatened on Brandy. She did that. That wasn't even anything behind the scenes. She did that. She showed that to everybody. When she said that this woman had
well,
made
she said
changes.
that when she started saying it, it was right after I had said something. It was all happened within days. Um,
Okay.
because that she did those text messages on the 24th. Like, and if she does things on lives on TikTok, I don't always see it because I'm not always watching those. And unlike YouTube, it doesn't do like YouTube where it saves it. So
Yeah, yeah, because I have to see that stuff from other channels as well, so I hear
yeah.
what you're saying, yeah.
So there would be stuff being said, and I'm like, I've missed it. Did somebody screenshot it? And so if it wasn't clipped by anybody and sent to me, then a lot of that I didn't see.
Mhm.
Um, and then she blocked me. So, when we got our cease and desist, I was like, can somebody send it to me? Because she has me blocked.
It was just something she said, actually. She just
Yeah.
read the shit to
Yeah.
everybody.
It was so funny. But I had already when I just said don't put me in with Katie Joy. That was in what, December, I think. Um, and she blew up with me just saying, and then she was telling everybody it was because she was giving her medical records, and that made me mad. That had nothing to do with it. Don't put me with that woman.
Mhm.
And trying to say I was doing things that I wasn't involved in, and I didn't want in that crazy. I didn't want in it. So I had already just kind of gone, I'm out. I don't, it is what it is. And I was trying to be peaceful because I didn't want any more fight with anybody. I was just,
Right. Right.
look, life is too
She
short
won't
for all
let
these
you go
battles.
like that. She won't let you go
Mm-mm.
like that. She won't.
No, and I
And
was
she
kind of
is
shocked. And we
she is
told her.
somebody, and I've told you this privately, and I've said to you, man, I hope you're not involved because she is somebody that will just
Mhm.
start grabbing at everybody. And don't let it be you if it's not you, man. Just don't let it be you because,
And
you
like I kept
know,
telling you, I am not worried. If law enforcement is looking into this and they want my shit, I'll hand it over willingly because I'm not
yeah.
worried. Because I know where I was involved and what I wasn't involved in, and what I have
Well,
was
they'll
in the
get in
booby
touch
trap.
with Dawn, and Dawn will just, I mean, I'm sure that with police, asking her, and they'll find her. They'll find
Right.
her just to get this sorted because, that's just the way it is. So let me ask you this. Why do you think, because I have, and I'm not a big fan of Christie, but we have people that, um, and listen, I was a drugs counselor, so I take sobriety as far as, alcohol and stuff like that pretty serious. And you probably can't speak on this. I'm saying it because I've seen it in the comments. Um, I don't even want to know. Because that's a question for Christy. That's a question for Christy. What is it that you think that people What's the biggest misconception you think that Christy, like, why do you think so many people dislike Christy? I'm not crazy about Christy because I feel like I used to think that she was the one that came up with the Munchausen by proxy. I was incorrect about that because I did see where the lawyer came up with that.
Hmm.
But I have a hard time honestly believing that they believe it. And that's my problem. My problem is I don't think that Rod believes um that Gypsy was a victim of Munchausen by proxy. And I don't think that Christy honestly believes it. So my problem is that they okayed her unaliving her mom and they're just like enjoying the spoils of it. That's my problem with that. So what, and I guess that's probably the problem of a lot of people in here, but what do you think the thing that Christy fights the most about as far as public opinion?
She doesn't worry about public opinion.
Okay. So,
They've learned to just let that go, and because it doesn't matter if they come out and try to fight and defend anything in the public, then that's twisted again, something different. So they just are like,
okay. Do they have do they have peace where they live? Because it's
yeah,
not a very big town, and I
yeah,
know people know who they are for sure, right? So they
mm-hmm,
have peace where
mm-hmm.
they live. In all fairness, we saw Gypsy go to the Dollar General the other day, right? So, and we didn't see anybody taking pictures of Gypsy except Gypsy. So when I say that, I'm saying, to me, it seems to me that maybe there is a loyalty for the Blanchards in Cutoff because, like, why didn't the guy at Dollar General or the person at Dollar General take the picture? Here's Gypsy Rose going into the store. So when a lot of people say, "Oh, there's no pictures of the baby, there's no pictures of this," it is a possibility that a community could be loyal to its
The community
residents and
down in the
protective.
south, down in the south, we tend to be a little more private, and they really just want normal. They want the cameras to go away. They want people to just let life be normal. And I think that's how that community is just kind of in the same, they're all the same way. Can we just be normal?
Right, right,
No.
right.
And they don't see her like everybody else. She's just Gypsy. They're
Well,
not
I
into
mean,
the
they
same
know that
thing.
she's infamous
Right, right.
for what happened. So, I mean, they because people know that. But I was surprised that, and people have said, we haven't seen pictures of the baby, we haven't seen pictures of Gypsy, we haven't seen pictures of Ken. And I thought to myself, well, here we watched her go to Dollar General and nobody came out with a picture. The people in the store, the people waiting on her. So, you know, it is, I used to live in Woodstock, New York, and there was a lot of celebrities that would have second homes there and such like that. But the town was very protective of them. Now we're talking about movie stars. We're not talking about people that were convicted of felonies. But the town was protective and uh, of those people. So I understand where a town could be that way, and maybe that's the case with Gypsy, and why we're not seeing photos and stuff like that. Um so a lot of people are saying, and I'm somebody who's on the fence, as silly as it sounds. I know that there's no movie stars in Cutoff. I'm talking about a community. Um so how do you know there's no movie stars in Cutoff? There could be somebody there. They could have a second home. Um what was I gonna say? I'm sorry. Why do you think you have so much? What's the controversy here? Do you know what this controversy is with the chat? Is there anything that you're
Oh,
getting?
I haven't. I
Well, I mean, and I don't want you to talk about anything you
bring.
don't want to
What
talk
did you
about.
see that you want me to address?
Well, I don't want you to talk about anything that you don't want to talk about, because this isn't a setup, and it's all right for you to say, "Hey, I don't want to address this," and that's fine. There's people that are saying some nasty things about
Mhm.
you, and I want to know why they think these things. Can you tell me
Well,
why?
Bluegrass Calico is going to do that because she's never liked me for one. She says she's lied about me a few times. She said that I watched her on one say that I had 53 live talking about how much money I've paid a lawyer to go after Fancy. That's not what I said. My husband's company has a program we pay into that we have access to lawyers because of that. And if Fancy was going to sue me for stealing her company and all of that she said last year, I had a lawyer. Now I wasn't going to sue her first because in Kentucky, if I did that, she would have access to free um, legal help. And I wasn't giving her that out. If she wanted to sue me, she could sue me. And that
Right,
I had access to a lawyer. Now, the other business partner I had at the time did pay a lot of money to an attorney for something totally different that she could use. That had nothing to do with me. So one, that's a libel. Um, I don't know. They've stretched a lot of things. I've never backstabbed her because I've never had any conversations with her because she blocked me pretty quickly. So there's that. I'm trying to think of what else is in here.
so there was
Did you see
something about,
something?
well, I don't need mods, guys.
Okay.
I don't need mods.
Trixie has said a few things that they've mentioned the panel I was on the other day. I was in the chat when that term was said, and I was laughing about something totally different. I get a kick out of Key's attitude. It's not so much what she says, and we did tell her not to say the word. So, I mean, when somebody's talking, you can't always stop the words they say. There was a whole thing that had happened before I'd even gotten there. Somebody else mentioned me being chummy with Fancy on a panel. I was on Pink Sands panel the other day when Fancy came up, and I was being respectful to Pink Sands and not fighting with. I had myself muted. I left a snarky comment in the chat, and Fancy had to come back with it. And I really wanted to go off, but I was trying to be respectful. Um, I went up on Bree's panel when Fancy was up there because my phone went to blowing up. that Fancy was on there being all chummy, and Natasha and I both went in there and called Fancy out. So I don't think that I've been super chummy. And let me put it here so everybody can see it. Fancy said she was giving me credit for work that I did. Fancy, please don't give me credit for shit. I don't want associated with what you say on any of this case, because don't. I hadn't done that publicly. I was going to make a public video for that.
You know, I don't know how much of this is guilt by association, you know, which is not fair, you know, and that's, I want to clear the air about that, because nobody should be guilty by association, and you being friends with Christie shouldn't be something that, you know, I I think that, you know, I'd be more upset if you were friends with Gypsy, to be honest with you. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I might not like Christie, but I certainly don't want people telling me who to be friends with. You know what I mean? I don't want that, you know, and it's hard to bring people up on a panel and or a channel and have a conversation and expect everybody to be happy about it. And my thing
Well,
is, you
and
know,
with oh, sorry.
no, my thing is, you know, how do you listen to people if you don't give them a chance to talk? You know, you have to.
Well,
So,
Calico wants to keep bringing up justice for her and Rez, but they didn't have any. They weren't very nice to me, and they want to get mad that I've gone off when what I saw was them being horrible about me in a Discord. And when I reacted to that, they want to play victim. And Rez even wants to put my record of my bounce checks from 20 years ago in and spread that around to people. So who's done who wrong? I guess I want to know why Brandy thought it was okay to be on a panel doxing Becca Scoops and laughing when Key was saying a lot of homophobic slurs. Was I on that panel? I thought it was in the chat.
I don't know. Anything again, this, anything you don't want to,
The stuff with Becca Scoops, I don't know. I think I've asked questions of things they've talked about.
well, how do you feel about doxing?
I don't see this as doxing as the way everybody else does, because a lot of it was on social media. But it's also a fight I'm not going to get into.
Okay.
I'm I don't think anybody wins when we want to. Now, I don't agree, and I've told everybody else this, and I said it on Beta Jades. I don't agree with the husband being talked about, or the deceased husband. I think him and the children should have, even by Becca, should have been left off of this. I don't think the video should have been showed on Morbids. I think those people should have been protected above all else in all of this. And because once we do that, then others use that to go at you. And I wish all of that
Like,
would have been alone.
what would, to me, I don't even know the purpose in bringing something up that happened 30 years ago, honestly, you know. And as far as whatever Becca's religious beliefs are, totally off the table, something you don't talk about, in my opinion. And whatever her political beliefs, totally another conversation that, you know, we don't talk about. So what was brought up was the fact that about 30 years ago she went through a horrible time in her life, and doesn't take away her nursing. You know, it doesn't take away all of the knowledge she learned from that. And to go back 30 years on somebody, I wouldn't have gone back 30 years on anybody. You know, Fancy shit is still wet, on the ink is still wet. To go back 30 years with somebody, to me, it looked very desperate and pulling. It's not even a fair fight. I mean, you go back 30 years in my life, I don't think you'd find anything, but go back 40 years, yeah, you're not gonna find anything either. It would be me telling you what I did 40 years ago. You know what I mean? It wasn't great, but only because my luck was better than a lot of people's luck. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
trust me, when I was working in with those inmates for drugs, it could have been me sitting there. and somebody else could have been showing me how to push a broom or how to cook or something like that. And that's the thing, is that, you know, you own who you are, and then you learn and you get past it, right? Like you said, you know, the thing with Fancy, the thing that made me stop and say, oh no, I'm no, was what happened with Dawn Boker, right? So with how Fancy went so low with Dawn Boker. So my thing is, you know, you either give somebody a chance to change and give them that grace, or you don't give them that grace, but you can't weaponize it, which is something Fancy is very good, or thinks she's very good at weaponizing. But if you look at her record, and I challenge to look up any of the records of the people that I respect, and you'll see that Fancy's record is a lot more colorful and a lot more to it. And it still doesn't take away the fact of what anybody knows as a fact or a case. You know what I'm saying?
I think our 20-plus-year-old police records, I don't know that are truly relevant to many things anyways. I I think everybody grows and changes.
Well, if they want to, they do, for sure, right? If they want to. There are people, unfortunately, that don't do
Hell, I'm not
any
the
of
same
that.
person I was 2 years ago, let alone 20 years ago.
Right, right, right,
So,
right.
I mean, it just is what it is.
So yeah, what I'm seeing is, guys, I'm not gonna let you call people that are on this channel. I mean, I'm not gonna let you call people that I respect pathetic or anything like that. If we can't have a conversation where people could, you know,
Sammy,
kind of respect
they've
themselves.
used she's used traumatic stuff on me already. So, I don't know
No,
what I'm
this wasn't
playing here.
about you. This was about Trixie Lane. Somebody said something nasty about Trixie Lane.
Well, this one
Like,
says, "I find it weird Brandy thinks she can go everywhere without taking." What accountability am I supposed to be taking? Like, I think I've owned everything I've said and done. I mean, people have asked me and I've owned it. So I don't know.
so there's a few people that keep writing that you laughed when Becca was doxxed. They
I
keep
wasn't
writing the
I
doxing,
wasn't
the
even
dox.
there. I found out about that after the fact. So I don't know. I don't know what they're
Okay.
talking
Yeah, there's a lot of people
about.
that
I'm
are
done
right.
asking. She's not. I'm not reading the whole chat. We're having a whole conversation. Like, they're getting mad over here that I'm not answering the chat when you and I are
Yeah,
having a
no, 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 no,
conversation.
don't do that. I love this. Here we go.
Okay.
We'll leave that up there. Um, so,
I think that doxing has happened on both sides. I'm going to be honest. I
well,
have
I'm friends
seen
with doxers apparently. Like,
I
that's like
and I know
stupid.
what Planty's talking about. There are people, and it's just I wish everybody just leave everybody alone. I do. Just leave it to what's said online and quit taking it personal. I wish everybody would do that. And um, but that's what you and I are saying. I'm friends with people you don't care for and what they do, and you're friends with
Right,
people I don't
right.
care for what they say and do. So, and I think that's what planting means.
Hey, Newport, Becca wasn't and isn't a fraud. She's somebody that 30 years ago had a problem, and she's gotten past
Wow,
that.
that one's super nice. Talk with Jay Beautiful. You're
Yeah.
such a nice person.
Anyway, we can we could turn this chat off and continue on,
Woo!
make it a big screen. I'm making a big screen. I can't even see the shit anymore. If you want to make a big screen and just talk to me, it could just be us, because honestly,
Well,
it's a big screen.
they got like major butt hurt that we were doing that.
Well, now it's actually, I can't even see the chat anymore. Like, honestly, I can't. The only one that's up here is Toddie, you're friends with doxers, because I'm not even in the chat. I'm like big. I'm big talking. So, what is your do you have a theory about what happened that night? Do you want to share a theory, or are you able, do you feel comfortable with sharing a theory about what happened the night at Dee Dee's house the night of the 15th, the unaliving? Do you have
Oh, I believe it happened exactly how Nick and Gypsy said it happened.
you think that he did it 4 times? What happened to the
No,
who did it the
I
other?
think that he only counted 4, and I think I had commented on one of your things.
Okay, okay,
I
okay, yeah.
firmly believe, I mean, even looking at the evidence, I mean, we did a whole AI image of the autopsy and all of that. Um, and talking to Nick in my conversations, I, the story fits for me. And I don't see any of the other conspiracy things. They just don't fit for me. They just don't.
But how come you don't think she has any like Dee Dee? How come she doesn't have any like defensive wounds or
I think
self-defensive
that
wounds?
when she was hit in the, trying to remember which one it was, the one that I think the first one's hit the lung, and I think it was she just couldn't get up. And he was on her back. Eh, Bigger women have a harder time being that I was that size at one point. Um, we have a harder time getting up
Mhm.
and moving over, so she wouldn't have been able to just throw him off, even though he was a lot lighter. Um, and so I
Why
don't
do
know.
you think so brutal though? I mean, with all of the I mean, like there was insulin there was medication there.
Oh, do I wish they'd have done it a different way? 100%. A
Yeah, but
100%. It was
why do
brutal.
you think it was so brutal?
I always thought, in my mind, I always felt like Nick, when it started, went into a blind rage of anger. One, protecting Gypsy. And two, I always felt like there was some anger towards his mother, because of the divorce and things his dad would say. There was just a lot there.
Mhm.
I always just thought maybe it was a blind anger that took over. And you hear killers say all the time they go into this black rage,
Right,
and
right,
I
right.
always thought it was something like that.
So then, like, do you have any explanation for like inside of the interrogation when he talks about Dan?
I think that was to do with her wanting to have sex with Dan before they go to Wisconsin. Um, I don't know. That never made a lot of sense.
Okay. Um, so what do you think about all of like the justice? What do you have any feelings about what you would like to see for Nick? I mean,
I
do you
would
have
love Nick to get a new trial. I would. I have always thought that Nick needed a better trial. That I think that things need to change with people that have autism. There needs to be a different advocate in the room.
Mhm.
Um, and those kinds of things need to change. 100%. And I'm perfectly okay with Nick getting a new trial. I don't know that Nick has the support he needs to be okay on the outside. That worries me.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I understand that. I
Because
understand.
I do think he could be manipulated to do other things.
Yeah. I understand that. I just want him to get a fair trial and get his mitigating circumstances considered, because his were real. And I don't believe in gypsies. I just don't. How
Well,
does
and
that go
you
ahead?
hear people say all the time, put him in a mental hospital. Well, those places are not geared for people like Nick. They're
Mhm.
geared for people like Andrea Yates, who has a true psychosis issue. Others with severe schizophrenia, other mental health ailments and they're not the best places. Now, is prison
Yeah,
the best
no, that
place? No, but
he could be in something like a step down program, a halfway house,
mhm,
where he even has an ankle monitor on
mhm,
him and he's, allowed to live, all of this stuff would be up to it's not certainly not up to us, right? So,
right.
but I would trust in the system too. I would like him to have a fair trial. How does that sit with the relationship you have with Christie when
Oh,
you
she's perfectly fine with it too. Her and I've had that conversation.
Right. So if there's something that you guys disagree on, is it just, hey, listen, we're going to agree to disagree on that, and that's just the way it is? Yeah. So that's cool. That's
like
cool.
actual friends do, you know. I have a friend who a real life friend, like we go hang out and
Right.
we are completely different politically. And so when we start to have those conversations, we go, okay, time out. Agree
Right.
to
Right. Right.
disagree. Let's
Yeah.
have a glass of
Yeah.
wine and we go on about our
Right.
business.
Right. 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 Right.
And then we'll start those conversations and I'll go, oh, do we want to go here? This is going to be one of those. And we're like, nope, we're not doing it. So, I mean, that's just how Christy and I do things too.
So where do you hope to go with your channel with Uncorked
You know,
with
I had
Brandy?
been working on the troubled teen industry.
Hang on one second. I just want to get something cold to drink. Hang
Okay,
on.
absolutely.
I can hear you, but I don't want you just talking to yourself because it looks silly, I think. So hang on one second. You can't have any of my San Pellegrino, little girl. No. But you can have some water right there. So the troubled teen industry, God, there's no lack of that.
No, and as my friend Margaret, who was one of the children in one of the schools, they just won their court case against one of the teachers at the Family Foundation School. He was found guilty of 4 out of 6 of the charges. So, little bit of justice there, and so I need to finish putting that together for an update. And I've had a few of the kids on, and we've been doing the Family Foundation School, and then we're going to do one of the wilderness programs. We've got a few lined up to interview on that.
You mean kids that went to the wilderness program
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and had those
and
horrible
I have
experiences?
one that he went to the Family Foundation School, and then he also did the wilderness school, and so his story was just gut wrenching. Um,
They're horrible places.
They are, and I used to agree with them. Like years ago, when you would hear like Dr. Phil talk about him, you're like, "Oh, these places are good for these kids that are really in a bad place." But then you hear, and it's like, "Oh, that's not what that is."
No.
So, and their stories have just been heartbreaking to hear. And then the ones that have taken their lives years later because of the trauma is
Yes.
just.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's kind of a direction I'm going. That and back, I don't do a whole lot of the new case stuff. I think that, like, if you pay attention, like I covered the Sebastian Rogers drama the other day because a friend of mine's, I have a couple of friends in the middle of that drama,
Right.
and it was like, do y'all even hear yourselves right now? And so I don't like new cases because I feel like it gets muddied, and so I like to talk old stuff.
Well, the thing about the new cases from what and I've only been doing this for a little bit of time is how much they evolve. You know, I mean, like how much things change from even like the Maddie Soto case, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and what we're learning now and what we just found out about Jen Soto. And I mean, like, so because it's so fluid, it's hard to keep track of all the missing pieces or
Right, and then
all
you
of
get
the
the
moving
rumor mill, and
pieces.
then you're spreading misinformation, and so that's why those cases scare me. I like to do it when they go to trial, um, and start sharing what the trial is talking about, those kinds of things. I've done a
Right.
lot on school shooters, those kinds of cases I like.
Mm-hmm.
When they start getting all the drama, like what's in Gypsy's case, I'm just like, "Nah, I'm out. I'm tapping out and done."
I get it. I get it. What do
I
you
like to
think?
talk about the meat of the case, like,
Right, right. So, what do you think about w- what do you think about all these school shootings? And I mean, like, what's going on?
I think
What's your
that,
feeling about that?
the stuff that just happened with, oh Lord, the name just totally went out of my mind. The one in, Michigan? M Is it Michigan? The one where the parents were charged. What was his name?
Yep. God, I see his face too. I
The
the
name is,
one,
like, right there,
yeah, I know who you're talking about.
and both
Um,
parents were charged,
yes,
and found
because
guilty.
they told he told them he was hearing voices, and
Mhm.
she took him to a shooting,
Yeah. Went and bought
and
him a
got him
gun
a gun
'cause
for Christmas, right? His dad
that's what
got him a
you
gun.
do.
I know who you're talking about. I
Yes.
know. I don't
I think
remember his
that
name.
case just set a precedent, and I think, I look at it because
How do you
what
feel about that? How do you feel
I
about that
was okay
precedent?
with them being charged.
Me too.
Is
Yeah, I feel the same way. You gotta hold them accountable, especially when the kid was
Mhm.
asking for help and they're laughing at him.
Yes, and
Most
they're
parents
making
laughed
fun
at
of him,
him.
hearing voices and that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah, yeah. Funny
Um,
now, huh? Isn't it funny
I'm
now?
being in the South, we have weapons. That's normal. We grew
Right.
up where we went to school, the shotgun was hanging in the back window in the parking lot because you went hunting when you left school, I mean, it now you
I
can't
do,
do
I
that.
am familiar with I wasn't brought up like that, but I know that, certain states,
We're
that's
we're
exactly what you
huge.
do. Yeah,
And
and
I look
hunting is
back now, and we didn't keep our guns locked up. No, my kids knew gun safety. We didn't have trigger locks. We didn't have all that. And I look back now and go, man, what if my kids would have been feeling this way? How would I have reacted? What would I have done? Would I paid attention? I've questioned because I think some of them may miss things like Nicholas Cruz's mother. Of course, she had passed away, but the people they were living with, they didn't know what was happening. Now I think they're going to start cracking down social media wise because, like with Nick Cruz with the Parkdale shooting, he was talking about that on YouTube, doing it before it ever happened.
Yeah, I saw that. I did see that. And there has to be, like, yeah, when you see something, say something, like,
Hmm.
especially if you see there's been quite a few of the especially on TikTok,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's
So
not okay.
I think that like we have the new one that just happened. Was it in Georgia where the
I'm
dad had
still
been
looking up
arrested?
the Michigan school shooter because now the name is, like, bothering me. Thank you for
It starts
that.
with a C.
Yeah, we're gonna find
Crumbly,
it right now.
crumbly, crumbly.
Ethan Crumbly, yeah, thank you for we got it at the same time.
But
Ethan Crumbly, yep.
I knew it was right there.
Yep, 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 you're right, yep. So, I'm sorry, go ahead. Are you reading
um,
the comments? Because I promise I can't even see the
No,
comments.
I just kinda look over ever so often, and they're with us now, where there's a few that are still back way back, but some of them are
Because
catching up with us.
honestly, I can tell I'm look, man, I ain't lying. I ain't lying. So this is what I'm looking at. I can't there's no comments there because because they were more distracting and I didn't want to do that, but I'm not gonna have mods. I don't believe that there should be gatekeepers. I could be my own gatekeeper, and I feel like if a conversation isn't going the way there's a distraction, I'm gonna pull myself away from. I'm not that curious. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't bring you on here to get beat up, and I don't want that. There are people that I will not have on my channel because either I can't show them respect and I don't want to have people on my channel that I can't show respect, or like, I hate to keep throwing Aaron out there, but there's a guy from Scientology. I don't think he wants me to interview. I don't think he wants to talk to me anymore, but no, I don't. Not for any other reason that I don't think he needs me to do what I think he wanted me to do. But one of the reasons why I really couldn't have him on my channel is because the minute I felt like I smiled to say, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, that would have lost all my credibility. So, I understand the importance and I understand when people, when subscribers say, "Hey, maybe you don't want to do this," but there should never be a subscriber that says, "Hey, if you do this, I'm going to unsubscribe because I don't want your subscription." I'm a
I
grown
I
woman.
I did just get a text, and so I'm gonna mention it to you and let you address it. We do have people in the chat using others' real names.
Okay, so I don't even know how to shut off this thing. Let me
Right,
go.
so,
How do I shut off
if
my
you don't
chat?
like each other, guys, block each other. Don't use people's real names. That's not
Can I shut this off? I mean, seriously, can I shut down my own
I mean,
chat?
I'm not watching it, but others are messaging
Well,
me
I
about it.
don't want that for other people. That
Yeah.
I don't want that for other people.
I mean, y'all are disrespecting Toddie, and she's your friend.
Forget about that. You're disrespecting other people. You shouldn't be putting anybody's names out there, especially when you're sitting here saying somebody else did it. Like, you're sitting here saying that Brandy is guilty of being on a panel, that somebody did it, and I got somebody else doing this in the comments. How does that even make sense? I don't know how to shut this down, to be honest. Do you know how to shut off my? I'm asking you.
You go into your studio, I think.
I'm
I've
going
never
into
messed with it.
settings. I'm going into settings and
Um,
audio recordings.
and Belle, if you're still here, you and Rez know how to reach out to me. Y'all want to squash it, you know how to reach out to me. I'm not going to keep fighting with y'all everywhere.
I don't know where to do this. I'm going big again. I'm just going big again, guys.
Yeah, I haven't been watching it.
Yeah, anybody that doxes anybody on here, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I wasn't even there. I found out about that. Let's see. Yeah, you and I haven't been watching the chat, so
I haven't been. I honestly haven't been.
we've missed quite a bit of it. I've had it sent to me, so I'll go back and look at it in a little bit.
Yeah, because that's not okay. That's not okay that we can't do we should be able to have a conversation without this going on, guys. I'm going big again, so I'm not gonna pay attention. I'm not gonna pay attention to the chat because that's not nice. So you're gonna start. Go
For
ahead.
school shooters, for me, I think that one, our schools have got to be better prepared. We need better. Our mental health in the United States has got to get an overhaul. Period.
Yeah.
It's not a gun issue. It is flat out a mental health issue because we have had guns forever. And when we were kids, this didn't happen. Like, you went to school, you beat the crap out of somebody, with your fist. You didn't bring weapons and hurt innocent people. And so it's a mental health crisis. I think we are in a full-fledged mental health crisis. My husband's a veteran, and he is one of those that he would love to see veterans that can pass the psych eval be in the schools to help monitor and keep schools safe.
Well, we disagree with the gun. I think guns are a huge problem, and because of the mental health. I know that a gun doesn't grab legs and go around shooting people, but I also know that in this country, rage is something that people react to, they respond to, and if a gun is there,
and I'm okay with better mental health checks
thing.
to have a weapon. I'm perfectly okay with that.
And I don't like the semi-automatics. I don't think that they're needed for hunting. I don't think that they're needed. Well, unfortunately, it's they're needed for protection now because they're out there. It's kind of like,
and if we make them illegal, if they're illegal, they're still going to get it because drugs are illegal and people get that all the day long.
Well,
So,
and people are printing guns now.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't think in my lifetime that the problem is going to be solved. I think the problem is going to get much worse in my lifetime, and I think it will be solved in another person, not in my lifetime, and that's sad because
I think now we have to just find a way to better the problem.
Yeah, I don't even know how to begin with that.
Yeah, like the Uvalde shooting, that one broke my heart because those cops didn't do their job. I mean, they sat out there for 77 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that. That was,
know,
I don't know what the hell they were doing there. They were afraid. I get, but then, you can't be a cop and you can't be a cop and be afraid. I can't be a cop because I'd be afraid. I would get shot because I don't know that.
Well, and sadly, they had just had training for the very same scenario. So they, within a couple of weeks. So they were prepared. They should have been prepared.
Right.
And they weren't. And a lot of them have lost their jobs. School officials have lost their jobs.
Well, they needed it because we watched what happened there.
Yeah. Well, and the schools didn't fix the doors. Because when the doors they shut and they have the automatic lock that locks it where you can only open it from inside, and those were broke and they weren't fixing it. So that's a huge issue. That's a huge issue.
Yeah,
And that's
because at this point now, it's not if our school will
it's
be
when
the victim. It's exactly, it's when. Yeah.
when I had to start having conversations with my grandson about what to do during school because he loved to talk to crime with me. And of course, I would, we would water it down because he was
Right,
little. And he would
right.
say, I'd pick him up from school and he'd go, Gammy, what case are we talking about today? And so we would talk, and he would say, well, what happened with that one? And I would tell him, in best way I could in his age frame appropriate. And so I had to sit down with him after Uvalde, especially. And I said, baby, do you know what to do if this happens? Yes, ma'am. They tell us to do, and he'll tell me what the school tells him. And so I started looking for backpacks with the metal plate on. We shouldn't have to do that for our children,
Hmm.
for elementary students. High schoolers, you can kind of go, okay, it's high schoolers bullying each other. It's the teenage thing, but they're going into elementary schools and hurting.
Well, even high schoolers should be able to go to school safely
Right. They
without
should.
people coming
They
in and
should.
doing
I
that.
didn't mean
But
it
you're
that way.
right. I know. But you're right. These aren't things that who did you ever think? I mean, when we were in school, I mean, the biggest concern was, fuck, I didn't do
Tornadoes.
my
We
homework.
were trained how to get under the desk for a tornado.
See, not even me, because I'm from Florida, and we would always, if there was a hurricane, we were out of school anyway.
Right.
But like, you
You know,
would
we
never think that this would be. So I remember the first school shooting, and I remember being aghast, and then I remember the one in Connecticut in Newtown, and that just broke my heart, right? In Newton, Connecticut,
mhm.
with the oh, there's so many children. I mean,
Wasn't that
young
the first
kids.
elementary school that had a shooting? Wasn't that the first elementary, I think? Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause it had been
yeah,
high schools up until then and colleges.
yeah. It was Columbine was the first one that I remember the school shooting.
Well, there was one a couple of years before Columbine, but I can't think of what it was called, and then there was Columbine that just
There
kind of
was one at a college. Is that the one you're talking about at the
maybe
college? I think.
maybe.
And then the Columbine one, because I had family out that way, right there in Littleton,
Mm,
Colorado, which is right there. And then it was just and now it's become common. It's something with another school shooting. Like, how did we get here? How did we get here? And it's stuff that is just I just,
I don't see how we keep failing our children.
that's the thing. I was just thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like when I grew up, the biggest thing was don't talk to strangers, don't cross the street, everything, come in when it's dark, don't let me yell for you for too long. All of that stuff that now is almost a joke because now I mean, it's so scary. It is so scary. I'm glad I don't have any
Mhm.
children because I can't imagine having a good night's sleep, having a child in this world and worrying about them, because it's absolutely scary. And I don't know how we got here and how we can um almost call it normal.
Right,
It's
and that's
disgusting.
sad.
It's disgusting. It
Yeah, because
is.
I've got, my one grandson is 13, and then the new one is 8 months, and so the future they have in school scares me. It
Future
scares
they
me.
have here in the United States is not. I don't think that it's safe. People get into road rage, and we don't. You hit the nail on the head when you talk about mental health because that's the problem. When people
Mhm.
get into road rage or somebody cuts them off. Listen, I get angry too, and I might curse them out, but some people, there's a gun next to them, they pick up the gun over somebody just cutting you off on the road. You know what I'm saying? And there's no grace. You keep reading the comments.
I am.
I'm not seeing them at all. I promise I'm still on the big
They're
screen.
being good. There's one, and it's fine. It's fine.
Is there
Uh,
anything that you want to address about the comments? Because honestly, I'm not looking at them.
No, because we've already addressed, and one of them's behind, and
Okay.
can't believe anything I said because I'm Christie's friend, but it's fine. Uh, I look, guys, I don't give a damn what anybody thinks about who my friends are.
Right.
My friends have their life, I have mine. And I have a 3F rule. If you're not feeding, financing, and you know what in me, then you don't control me.
Right.
And
Right.
my husband will tell you even then that doesn't happen. Says the
So,
person who was going to buy 2 chickens this weekend and came home with a bunch of chickens.
well, it's cheaper than getting eggs.
No, this wasn't.
Well, you'll get eggs for quite some time.
Yeah, I
Right.
bought specialty chickens. I got Silkies, the big fuzzy ones, and so,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't know. Is there anything that you want to address? Is there, should I go back to the comments here?
Well, Reverend Lovejoy, which has been just such a lovely person in the chat, I got played by Fancy and I'm nobody. Okay.
Is that what they're saying about you, that you
Yeah,
got
that's what they
played?
said. I didn't get played by Fancy, guys. If anybody listened, I literally said on her stuff that we would have a fallout and it would be epic again. I was not played by her and by any means. Um, wanted to believe the best in somebody, and that's it.
Do you want to address this at all? And
Um,
again, don't feel obligated to address anything that you
okay.
feel like you can't speak on.
Christie and Dawn's direct correspondence. Christie met Dawn like the rest of us when she was part of By Proxy, when Dawn was added to By Proxy, and then I was added later, and that's how I met Dawn. Well, I take the back. Nope, I knew Dawn through the group. Sorry, that people come back and say I'm lying. I knew Dawn because we were all in the different groups. That's how I knew Dawn's story of how she was talking to Nick before she even came over to By Proxy. And I'm just going to call it by proxy because that's what we were then, guys, was by proxy. It wasn't just fancy, it was by proxy, even though that's fancy. And when Dawn was planning on moving to Kentucky to live with Fancy, and people went to Dawn and said, don't do it. And Christy was one of those. And Christy befriended her when she left and stayed friends with her and helped her through a really bad time when Dawn left because she was suicidal, and Kirsty was there for her through that.
Well, that's weird. I mean, just because of the relationship she had with Nick, in all honesty, but that's weird, and it could be called suspicious because it's so
I can see how
weird.
people would see that, but I think that I think we all develop friendship. These parasocial relationships happen; they just do.
Hmm.
And for Christy, it was about knowing what Fancy was doing to Dawn, and tearing her apart when she was leaving.
And I can understand that. I have been in weird situations because the right thing to do was to be there for the person. So I myself have been in weird situations where I ended up really looking like a bad guy. And over the course of years, people realized that, that wasn't the case. And sometimes that's what it takes. I know why I did some of the things that I did, and it's come out that, that's what it's been. And I don't know who Reverend Lovejoy is because I've never seen them in my comments
One of the
before.
trolls, I'm sure.
I see them now, and I mean, it's a stupid comment that you can't, that you should be crucified. I mean, I'm reading it that you should be crucified because you worked with Fancy at one point in time. That
And Dorothy Peters, she said she tried to reach out to me. Email me, truecrimeuncorked at gmail.com. And it's also on my YouTube, and reach out to me that way. Um, I'm not sure what you needed to reach out to me for. But reach out to me, because it was evidently important to you. I'm sorry that you felt shunned. I don't know what happened. So email me, or you can find me on TikTok too. Either way.
So I'm looking at Micah. All right, Micah, I'm trying to read what you're saying here. Then she said,
And I know I'm missing a lot of comments because there's a lot of them, guys, and so I'm not picking and choosing and ignoring people. Some of them I'm just not going to deal with because you're just being jerks. But
well,
thank you, Newport. I appreciate the support.
I don't know, Micah. I don't understand what the question is. I can't seem to find the question. So if you can ask it again. Gypsy got a free pass when she was the one that did the entire thing to me. Then she never apologized. I don't know what Micah.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I don't know what you're talking about. So Christie has a dark, unsettling energy. Okay, but that's something that a friend shouldn't have to be responsible for. So we should only be responsible for our actions, not the actions of other people. And it should be like within I don't know, at least 2 or 3 years. So if somebody did something beyond that, I'm not interested in that. Okay. So, because this isn't what this is about. I've sent you an email. If you get the time, please check it out. I will, Apple. I will, Toddie. I have a screenshot for you. Okay. 420. Do you know an 420?
That's one of my mods.
Okay. She's here. She says
She's known me
here.
for a very long time. She actually knew me in 2019.
Wow, guys, you guys shouldn't say things like that. Sorry,
Yes,
Toddie. That's okay. You guys, listen. I don't care if you ask questions. I'm just asking that we ask respectfully the questions. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And anything that Brandy doesn't want to answer, she doesn't have to answer because last I checked, we were still in a free country.
How do you? Because I've seen you people say this a few times that I'm a grifter, just like Gypsy. How am I grifting? Do y'all not know the definition of a grifter? That always baffles me when they say that. I just.
Micah, I've never, I don't do that to people, so I don't know why your comments are getting blocked. I know they're not getting blocked here. So a
YouTube
question,
may filter them. YouTube will filter comments if it triggers certain things.
okay, so Brandy had asked, whoever asked Brandy had asked, how is she grifting? That's a fair question. Whoever said that, please, answer, give her a chance to, explain herself if that's the thing.
I mean, if it's because I have a YouTube channel that's monetized, then you're saying the same
Listen,
thing about Toddie.
this guy, the one person I am blocking him because, or her, whoever it is, the person, the doctor, whatever, who's that person? I did because they're not asking anything. They're just trying to piss you off. And unless there's a legitimate question, I'm not just going to let people piss off people. I mean, we could do that. We don't need help from that. That's not.
The Reverend says they're not saying I'm not credible, not crucifying me. So
Yeah, no. That's the guy who I'm trying to.
Yeah, I think I might know who that is because it's the same stuff that gets said elsewhere. It's fine. They don't want you to know who they are.
Anyway.
I mean, look, my story has not changed, guys. When I even befriended Fancy last year, in whatever it was that was going on with her and I didn't remove any of my videos. I have a Fancy playlist where I outed and exposed everything that she was putting out last year. So I didn't hide any of that. It's never been hidden. I know I'd seen Rez say that she had all that downloaded to show it. Well, I didn't delete it. So
yeah, I don't think that people should be guilt by association. Here you go.
Because you are taking this case and making money off it, like your members only lives, etc., collecting the blood money. Well, so is Morbid, so is Toddie, so is Becca, so is Into the Weeds, so is Millennials not monetized. I don't know if Dawn the Cutting Board is monetized. Anybody that talks about this case would be that way, not just me. And I haven't done a whole lot of Gypsy content.
This is social media. this is a platform that social media has given people, and I'm not sorry about making money off Gypsy Rose and talking about her, or making money off Wade Wilson and talking about him. I'm not sorry about doing that. So why would Brandy be any more of a grifter than any of the other content creators that are out here?
I
Somebody
mean,
answer
we're all
me
talking the
that.
same stuff, so you can't say one's a grifter and not say everybody's a grifter, and that's not what a grifter is. I mean,
Yeah,
tragedy camps, those are grifters. I can point you to some channels and show you some grifters that come on here and go, I can't afford to pay my cable bill and my internet and my electric bill. That's a grifter. I don't do
right.
that. I have literally asked for money twice on this platform in 5 years. One was to help my deductible on my surgery, and it was right before 2 weeks before Christmas, and I needed help, and I asked for help. And other was some equipment that I needed for physical therapy. That's been it.
Yeah, and that's not grifting, asking people for help, they have the option to help you or not,
Right. That's
so
and so that's when they bring that up, that's I'm like, that's all I've ever done. So I don't know why. Yeah. I'm not doing
yeah.
anything any other content creators doing. So or not doing rather. What's the present status with Fancy? Who knows? With me and Fancy, other than somewhat communicating on panels when she happens to go up and I'm being respectful to the host, that's it.
Yeah,
Still blocked, I can show y'all.
you don't have
Look,
to do that.
I ain't scared. Watch. She has me blocked on cell phone, so
Yeah.
which not that I can figure out which one is hers because her name is always spelt stupid. Are there any other questions you see in any of the ones?
I'm looking nowadays, he doesn't need some help.
Oh, look, it won't even pull her up because I have her blocked. That's taken forever to find her.
Yeah, I think that well, we've all said that no, we don't think that what happened with Nick was right. Um, I don't know if you have the answer to
Let's
this.
see. Did Victor introduce himself to Dawn, or did Fancy introduce Victor to Dawn by any way? Christie, how did Christie? No, Christie didn't meet Victor. And I don't know how to answer that. Okay, let's see. The first question: did Victor introduce himself to Dawn? I don't know. I don't know because there were a lot of those emails in that drive, and I don't remember what was what. If that was in those, I want to say he used a different name and not Victor. I think it was Nick. Oh Lord, I don't even remember now. So again, I don't know how to answer that because I don't know for sure. Um, and Fancy didn't introduce any of that. Because Dawn was talking to Nick before she came to by proxy. They had a long couple months before she ever came to by proxy. So that was separate. Now, were things manipulated after the fact? Yes. Um, and did Fancy misuse the info? In my opinion, yes. I think that Fancy has misused info. I do see Brady tries to be neutral and be a safe place for everyone to come together to discuss issues between communities. I try, Mustard. I do try because I can sit back and look at both sides of it. And I've been in the awareness community for years now, and where I've sat back and gone, okay, now we're becoming bullies. We're trying to bring awareness to this person, and we're now the bullies. And so, I mean, it happens. 100% wrong. Absolutely. I actually encouraged the family to sue her over that.
Yes, this woman is friends with Christie. I can answer that. Brandy is friends with Christie. I'm looking for more questions.
Okay, so chicken crafts. We're gonna all deal with this one. This do you see that one? The doxing of kids' pics and people's jobs came from that side. Okay, I don't know anything about people doxing kids because I did ask that question and was giving an answer that was different than so because I didn't see all of it, guys, and if I don't see it, then I can't. I don't know how to deal with that. Kendall Grant and this Brandy chick, Nurse Colleen. Okay, Kendall and I have dealt with the thing with Colleen. We were just beginning our friendship with me and Kendall. And when she contacted Colleen's nursing board, we were acquaintances, I guess. I mean, we were friends, kind of like what me and Toddie are. We talk, through emails, on the chats. We weren't like what Kendall and I are now. And when that happened, it had grown because it had taken time. And Fancy came to me about it. And I mean, blasted me 7 ways from Sunday. And I was like, I didn't think that had gone through. I thought they had all stopped that. And Kendall was like, yeah, it had gone through. Now, Kendall has made this right with Colleen. Colleen is okay. Her license is okay. She's not in any kind of trouble, and all of that has been dropped. And Kendall and Colleen are friends. So if Colleen has no problem with it, I think everybody else needs to leave it alone.
I think that that's a fair statement. I agree. I agree with that. I agree that if the people involved don't have the problem with it, then, other people shouldn't be more annoyed with it. They could be upset about principle, but they don't have to carry that torch if the person.
And look, I wasn't real happy about it because it did put me in a bad spot. The stuff when people contacted the autistic girl's father put me in a bad spot, and I went off on that. Kendall has said publicly the other day that I chewed her ass for that. And it wasn't that she necessarily did it; she covered for somebody else. But that person says they were a mandated reporter. They just didn't want everybody jumping them on social media. So but again, I wasn't on the TikTok live when it happened, and so I still don't know the whole story other than what others told me. I
Right.
wasn't happy about it. We're only human. At the end of the day, I have been fooled by people thinking that they were my friends, but they end up showing their true colors in the end. Viking Paranormal, you're right. And that's happened. It has happened quite a bit. And I'm very cautious about people on social media, and I don't let everybody in my circle. I am one of those that think that I've never agreed with the Son of Sam law. I think that people have the right to profit off of their story. Because I look at it this way: if I'm making money off of them profiting off their story, they should be able to make money. I don't know. I see it differently than a lot of people. April was my main resource when I started learning about GRB, and I know what it's like to be sucked into her messed up world. No shade. Thank you, Steph.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to say, Brandy? Because I'm getting ready to close this out just because I got to go to work tonight. I just want to make sure that you get, a chance to say what it is that, if there's anything that you want to say, or
I'm trying to see. I don't understand talk time with Jay. So she was there with Fancy and the fake doctor. I don't know what fake doctor. Are we talking about Amanda?
I don't even know where you're at here.
It's up just a little ways. It's talk time with Jay dash beautiful. Why do dumb things with your PRED? You're not as responsible for them. You are them. I don't understand that question.
I can't even find it. Talk time with Jay.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
Right above Into the Weeds has one, and then there's Turtle, and then them.
I see Trouble Puffs up above Into the Weeds. Stuff Into the Weeds.
Okay, Evil Olive has a question here I can answer while you're looking for that one. They say, Toddie, Brandy stated on Veda Jades that Gypsy, Rod, and Christie were okay with the vigil at the book signing. It didn't seem that way after the way Pink Pony was treated. Can she elaborate? They were okay with the vigil happening outside of that bookstore. They were not okay with them coming inside of that bookstore in an area where they were and what felt like interrupting. I'm not okay with that. I think that if you want to do a vigil and do it peacefully and respectfully for Dee Dee, because that should have been what it was about. And buying a ticket to go into a book signing for somebody that you don't like didn't feel appropriate to me. But they were okay with a vigil and respects for Dee Dee. They had no issue with that. I hope that explained evil. I hope that explained it.
All right, Reverend Lovejoy, you're gone. You know, you're the second person that I actually have like blocked
Oh, they
from
must have
my
been really nice
channel.
again.
So well done. Well done. You're the second person that I blocked from my channel. So well done for that. Because you just still couldn't get it together. Just couldn't just even watch without commenting and saying stuff like I'm looking for more. I didn't see the other thing, to be honest with you. So here, somebody who I respect, who definitely is going to tell us what grifting is.
I love my Dawn.
And she knows what grifting is. I'm sorry you guys are having commercials. Sorry about that. The people who give comments on books always get in. I don't know what that means. Let me see. Pink Pony was indeed one of the only ones there, and she was brave as hell for it. She held her grace. She did. She was
And
absolutely.
and everybody has the right to feel that she. I mean, I had no issue with what was going on. I thought it was tacky to try to go in. I mean, especially when you don't like somebody. I think that took away from your peaceful and Dee Dee's vigil for me. It's not how I would have done it, but you know what? I'm not a part of that. So, but I have the right to see it the way I see it, just like everybody else has the right to see it their way. Um, and the community's all pretty small, so they all knew each other. I believe they worked at the Dee Dee and Christie worked at the hospital together. Dee Dee, I mean, Christie and Rod had been friends for a really long time. Uh, I guess I'm answering that question.
And there might be stuff you don't know. I mean, you didn't know them back then,
Well,
so
to me, a lot of that just doesn't matter.
and I mean, maybe she shared with you how she met him and stuff like that. But listen, if in all honesty, if somebody shared something private, this woman's not going to share it. That's called confidential, and you can't be mad at somebody who's not going to do that either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't expect anybody to uh to give out any information. So she answered this, but you came in late, Emma Lou. So let's try it again. Just how did you guys become friends?
I knew Christie through being a part of By Proxy from 2019.
And by proxy was
the
was
original group Fancy had on Facebook. The
right.
project itself, the show was going to be called By Proxy. I wasn't a fan of Christie. I was very hard on Christie.
I'm
Fancy
not
has
going
threatened to,
anywhere.
okay. Fancy has threatened to throw all of that out there, or the things that I said about her in the video, whatever. And she's never done it, but she might as well go ahead. Please do, because Christie knows. And in 2022, Christie and I were connected through my ex business partner, Tori, who was also ex friends with Fancy. And Tori and I began talking. I mean, not Tori, sorry. Christie and I began talking. And we made amends, basically. I explained myself to her and how I felt about things that she had said and done. Bless you.
Thank
And
you.
our friendship just kind of grew from there on everyday life.
So that seems like that seems legitimate to me. I think that so
Apple, I don't know why Ken did any of that because I don't talk to Ken. I mean, I'm not responsible for what he says and does, and I've never had a conversation with Ken ever. So I can't answer that.
and I mean, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but I think that was answered. That that was answered when she said that listen, Brandy said, I don't think that somebody who's doing any kind of thing for Dee Dee needed to come in and buy a ticket for somebody that they didn't like. She said, you might not agree with me. You might not agree with me, but that's the way I feel about it. And she said that nobody had a problem with Pink Pony and protesting outside. Of course they can't because nobody owns outside, but they had a problem with her being inside. We don't have to agree with that. But that's the answer. So we have to respect that that's the answer. We have to respect that. Okay? I don't agree with it. I don't know what was going to happen if Pink Pony was going to stay inside and just listen, or if she was going to ask, anything about Gypsy unaliving her mom. I can certainly understand, that they wouldn't want that. Right? So nobody wants that at the book signing. So I'm not saying that it was right. I watched the thing while it was happening, and I don't think it was handled well because she was sitting there minding her own business. But that really doesn't have anything to do with Brandy, and she answered it. So I don't understand the continual question of that. Like, that stuff I don't think is fair. When somebody answers something, we might not like the answer, but you can't keep asking the same question because that's really not fair. What do you want her to do? Change her answer? So we have to respect people's and listen, she's a guest on this channel and this is our community, so we're going to respect the guests. Otherwise, I'm not going to have them on, because I honestly almost did this without anybody on the live.
We almost did it recorded so we could just
and
talk.
it was Brandy that said I would be happy to answer questions.
I don't have anything to hide. I know people think that I do, but I don't. I just so Dash
so here's
okay.
a very legitimate question right here.
And there's another one by Dash X, I think right above that one. Brandy, do you think that Fancy had a legitimate business plan for by proxy, or do you think it was all a scam from the get-go? Okay. Can I answer in between that? I think that she had an idea for the business because they had Mad Ginger Entertainment, which was what that was under. And Mad Ginger Entertainment.
Okay. You said that fast. I didn't know if somebody didn't know what it was.
Mad Ginger, blah, 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 tongue twister. Mad Ginger Entertainment was the company before the Good Wives Network. And that was when they did Sins, and there was another one, but I can't think of what it was called, that never happened. And I think she had good ideas for what they were trying to do, but she doesn't have a follow through. And I do think it's about making the quick buck. Because we did have conversations about winning the Emmy and who was going to bring it home and who was walking the red carpet. And she had a vision board with her house she was going to buy and the cars they were going to get. And so
here's the thing that I got to just say, okay? I don't feel bad for Fancy anymore.
Oh, I don't either. She's made her own bed.
But when I hear that, and if I would have heard that 6 months ago or 7 months ago, I would have felt bad, because I understand that. As somebody who is a writer, I understand, that you put, but here's the thing, like, I put everything into, like, I could show you completed work. The thing with Fancy is she could show you other people's completed work, and there is no follow through with that. But until you know that, like, I totally can have compassion for somebody who puts or appears to or wants you to believe and has you believe that they put everything into it. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't work out that way. And that's not what happened with Fancy. But that's the picture she wants everybody to believe. But that is not what happened to her. And I challenge her to show me completed scripts, not things that you spew and then hit a print button, but things that you actually hovered over a computer with and typed and made this happen. And then I would have a lot more compassion. But
her anger, in my opinion, how I see this, her anger and her vitriol that she spits towards the Blanchards, that she really is responsible for how a lot of you guys see the Blanchards. I know y'all don't see that, but that's how I see it. When she came out last year and she was raging because Christie got News Nation canceled. Christie gave me that information to show. She wanted Fancy to know it was her. And getting that interview canceled and some other things that kept happening. And Fancy said they took my spot. Had Gypsy never walked the red carpet, I never would have been angry. And that was for me. What the light bulb went off. I was like, it's about the money. She's not getting the money
and
She's
the
not getting the
recognition
that all of the others are getting for doing this show and all of this, because that
and
was
the praise. Yeah. And the praise. But see, that comes with the hard work. And that's something that everybody that I have spoken to, whether they like Fancy or they don't, she just does not do hard work. She just doesn't, like we've agreed, she doesn't do the say. So I grabbed this because it said someone asked a question when you made the statement that police wanted your emails on a hard drive. I don't know anything about this.
Okay, so I think are you talking about, Trixie, is that the one that, because somebody had told me about it, and I guess it happened on Morbids, and I think Apple asked, because I found out later on it was Apple, I didn't even know it was Apple who had asked the question about if I had emails and stuff. She was asking Becca if I should give that to you, and it somehow was coming up that I needed to hand this stuff over, and my comment was, if law enforcement wants anything I have, I will give it to them. Technically, it's going to be what everybody else has because it's the same stuff from the Google Drive that's been leaked. So I don't really have anything that anybody else doesn't have, and except for my own very emails with Nick. And I mean, I've already given a couple of those to Toddie to show her what I said. And she's the only one I've given one on the very first one I put on Reddit to show Belle, just like I gave to you. And then I think I gave you 2 or 3. And you're the only person I've ever given those to, because I knew you wouldn't put them out to use them, because
no, it was just to prove you. It was just to prove you.
I told Nick a long time ago.
I'm not going to do that. I
told Nick a long time ago I would never do that without his permission, and I haven't. Fancy asked to buy them, I never gave them to her.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to. She's never even seen them. She knew I had them. She didn't know what said in them. It wasn't none of her business. And so I declined turning them. I've never declined turning them over. What I've said was, I'm not giving it over to content creators.
I have to say that's what I've heard you say.
And if law enforcement wants it, I will gladly talk to law enforcement about anything they want to talk to me about. I'm going to make sure it's law enforcement. I'm going to vet it and make sure. But I want absolutely. I'm not worried about any of that. And so that's what I meant by that, guys. If it was misunderstood, I apologize, but that's what I meant. I'm not giving it to Becca. I'm not giving it to Toddie. I'm not giving it to Fancy. I'm not giving it to Kendall. I'm going to give it to law enforcement if they want it.
And that's fair. That's fair.
Brandy, I just got in here, but how do you feel about Gypsy's behavior? Do you feel like there are things she needed to do? I do. I do think there are things that she could do better. But at the same time, I understand it. Because look, I have a kid that she just reminds me a lot of my kid. And I got a weird fly in here. I don't know what that was. That was a weird bug.
And you guys have to remember, I mean, I want you to answer the question, but you have to remember that she's friends with Christie. She's not friends with Gypsy.
I mean, we can all look at our adult children and go, man, I wish they would do something different. I mean, I do that with mine all the time. And I've got a 28-year-old, a 32-year-old, and a 35-year-old. So yeah, 35. I stopped count. She's gonna kill me. They're getting too old. And so I look at them all the time and go, man, I wish they would do that differently. Would you tell us more about Fancy?
This is on you. If you want to do this is
okay. I honestly don't know a lot about her charges. Because I'm not one that really gives a crap about people's backgrounds. We all have a past and we all fuck up. Sorry, I said the F word.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Okay. That's all right.
Some channels don't like it, and I'm an F-bomb girl. I know the story. I know
I said fucking A.
I know the story she told me about the food stamp fraud. And it was that she had made more and didn't report it and got in trouble. That's all I know.
And she told us that she just ticked the wrong box. We know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, there's been different stories. Now, from my understanding of how Tori explained it, now going off of because I wasn't a part of the original business, I was a part of it in 2021. I was not a business partner in the beginning. I was a co-host and research person. That was it. I had an NDA, period.
And didn't she like offer you 1% or something? Did I
I had
hear that?
1% of Tori's business.
Oh, okay.
Tori and Tracy, which is the company we were accused of stealing.
Okay.
So Kentucky is a state you pay state tax in, and so the LLC was filed in Delaware. So under I don't remember what it's called. You can get a person, you pay there's a term for it. I don't know. I live in Texas. We don't have state taxes. I filed all my shit here. And so the LLC was filed under Delaware to get away with not paying Kentucky state taxes, to my understanding, according to Tori.
So Tori lived in Delaware? Somebody lived in Delaware.
No, Tori lived in Kentucky. It was an agent. I guess you get an agent or something like that. You pay the extra for the agent fees to file it under. I don't know. It was confusing to me.
Okay.
So if I really try to answer that, I'm just really giving you what I was told by Tori, who I have also proven to be a liar, that I just found out a year ago. So I don't know if I can even trust that anymore. But Dash X says, I'm almost caught up, but do you have anything illuminating to shed on what went down between Katie Joy? I've been around since the original interview with Katie Joy. The flip-flopping with her in April is funny. Other than I lost my shit on Fancy about connecting me with her and Katie Joy because I wanted nothing to do with that crazy woman. No, I don't.
I can't even find Dash X on here, but go
yeah,
ahead.
it's way up. It's been quite a bit. And so I knew that was going to be bad when it happened because Katie Joy has a history and that's how she goes through things. She has tried to destroy people left and right. And I knew as soon as she got the chance to be friendly with the Petries, it was over. And in the end, she'll turn on the Petries like she does everybody else.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But that's one of the OG people, evidently, that knows the OG interview, which was hilarious. An interview that was never supposed to be public until Katie Joy run her mouth. Let's see. I don't know if there's anything else.
I'm looking. Fantasy has nothing to do with how I see the Blanchards. Okay. Did I miss you answering my question? I'm finally caught up. Oh, there's Dash X. I finally see them. Okay. Yeah, she answered your question. It was me that couldn't find it. Tori Streeter or something along the lines of including involvement. Okay. Would somehow be included and need to turn stuff. Yeah. Please know what to ask for.
Yeah, and I have no issues talking to police on any of it. I don't. What I have is the same stuff everybody else has because it was stuff I took out of the Google Drive when I left, or when I was getting ready to leave and saw things going that I wasn't okay with and going haywire. I took proof, and it is on an old computer in my back room in a box, and I need to take the computer in because it's got stuff on it I want.
So this looks really important because Apple Charlotte, who I like very much, has capitalized everything. So we must have missed this, and I'm sorry for that.
Okay, but and she's kind of come at me sideways on other things about this. I wasn't being ugly to you, Apple, so I don't know why you've taken it that way. I was just said it was somebody kept coming at me about giving it to content creators, and I'm not. And it wasn't that big of a deal. I just said I ain't doing it. I'm giving it to law enforcement if they want it. I don't know why we're upset about that.
That seems like, to be honest, that seems like some sort of misunderstanding. Something
And it
lost
could have
in
been. And so
translation. It actually looks like something lost in translation. It looks like somebody reading it. So, listen, I wouldn't give. You think I gave content creators the stuff I gave to the cops? No, no. Like a lot of them know what I gave to the cops, but I didn't give them anything that I gave to the police because one, why should they have that burden? That's number one. Number two, it's not their job
And
to
it
have that.
wasn't just one person that came to me with the comment, it was multiple, and so I was like, "I'm just gonna kind of address this in a kind of an open kind of way," and I wasn't accusing anybody of anything, I was just saying,
I
and I'm
like
not gonna
Apple very much. I don't think, I mean,
I think
I'm
she
not,
misunderstood what I was saying,
that's what I'm
um,
saying. I think that there was something lost there.
and she's been very upset about that because 'cause I've seen it all over, and I wasn't attacking anybody, just not giving any I mean, and in the end, y'all have all seen it because it's all been put out, so I don't have anything.
Well, there's a few people saying that they saw something, so I'm not sure what they saw or what. Apple, are you happy with the answer you got? I'm not trying to be sarcastic because I want it just to be squashed now. I mean, if we're talking about it, I I would
Right,
like
ask
it
it
to
because
be
I
talked
mean,
about
she's been
now.
very upset with me, and I'm like, I wasn't even attacking her because I didn't even know exactly who it was that had said it. So, and look, Morbid's lives are too freaking long for me to go back and find all that. I'm not. I don't have that kind of time. I just don't. And did Fancy ever pay me for any of my work? You are so funny. No, technically, I paid Fancy. I paid to buy into the business in 2021.
Listen, I appreciate you giving me money. I honestly do, Mighty Mulatto. But please don't feel obligated to do that. Just if you, I mean, I'll take your money and I say thank you, but um, I want to answer your questions because you're asking them. So please, I'm going through them. Don't feel like you have to pay
I'm
to
going
have
look,
me
I'm
ask
not
the
a Ryan
question.
Anderson fan, so if you're a Ryan Anderson fan, I'm gonna piss you off. I don't trust him and he's a liar.
Seems to be
Christie never ghosted Gypsy in prison. That didn't
Oh,
happen.
because he said that, it took her weeks to get back to him apparently, or to her. He did say that. And you're
See,
saying that didn't happen.
there's been a lot of things that I've seen him say that I'm like, I know that's a flat out lie. So I think Ryan just likes to get attention.
So you don't think that, because I believed him when he said that. I'll be honest with you. I really did. I even made a video about it.
No.
Okay, hang
No, and
on.
I will go 10 toes down on that one. No. Let's see. Anyways, guys, I love you guys and you're a great community. A lot of times kept right staying here to be misquoted, but I didn't say I wasn't. She's totally misunderstanding.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, she's got, I'm sorry that that happened. I really like her a lot. And
She's
sorry
misunderstanding.
that that happened. I'm hoping that we could clear that at some part. I'm sorry that that happened. I
Well,
actually saw.
they're thinking that we're seeing all this really quickly, and we're not because we've been having a conversation together. So, and they're getting mad because it's not getting answered, and it wasn't.
Yeah, nobody's trying. This was for us to have a conversation, and there's a lot going on here. Apple wait time. I made a short video. I sent it to you. Okay, okay. Okay. That's great. I will. I will read it. I will. I will read it. I will. And I thank you for that, Apple Charlotte. I thank you. So she just said that she's got a video that she sent me, and
Thank
all
you,
right.
AK.
Did you see the signs before or here you go?
Signs before or after working with Fancher that she was unhinged? After. And really, what we see now feels worse than it was before. Like it feels like it has amped up compared to what it was. Now,
Was she a different person? Like was she a different person when you met her? Because you met her and then the falling out with the Blanchards.
Mhm.
So did she was she was she put together better
Oh no,
before
no,
the
she wasn't put
falling out?
together. She wasn't put together. um, she wasn't as like these weird things that she did on TikTok with the screaming in the car, and we didn't have any of that. When she had meltdowns, it was very privately with us in the group. And that's, like I said earlier, we spent hours on the phone worried about her. I don't know that she has that, but look, it's draining. So even if she does have it, I get it. Like, you have to disappear. And I think like Mac is taking a break right now, that I've seen.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard. I mean, I haven't seen because I don't follow her anymore, but I
And
hear all
JJ
about her.
left, and
You would think that she might realize, I mean, and she's a big age now, you think that you might realize, why don't people stay? What is it? It can't be everybody and not you, you know what I mean?
I
So
told
why
her
can't
when
it be?
in
Yeah.
one of our fights that, and when I left, it was probably in 2020. No, it'd have been 2019. It was in 2019 because that was the big one, because it was about 8 months before we talked again. I told her, I was like, do you realize the common denominator in everything happening is you? It's you. All the issues, it's you. I know. Yes, it is. You're right. And she didn't understand that I was not being nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a question. You don't have to answer it. I don't know how I would feel about answering it. You don't have to, because do whatever you want. I'm putting it out there because it's
So
fair to put it out there.
I don't make it a habit of questioning people how they make their money. And I don't have an issue with it, of anybody making money off of their story. I just don't. And their story isn't necessarily the crime. It's I don't know. And I know people don't agree with me on this. And so, I mean, we've got, well, isn't it Melissa Moore that's dad was a serial killer? She makes money off of that. So,
Oh yeah, she does. And she
and
has
so
other people,
I
so.
I mean, Casey Anthony, I know everybody hates Casey Anthony. She's making money off her name. So I don't know. I just don't. It's none of my business, to be honest.
Yeah, I I don't know. That would be a hard one for me. I'm glad, Apple. I'm glad, because nothing but respect for you, my friend. Um, I I don't know how I would feel about that. First of all, I would have to honestly believe that.
No, being fancy's never paid anyone on our team.
I would have to believe, that the whole story would have to change. You know what I'm saying? Like Christie, I would have to be convinced that Christie believes that Gypsy unalived her mom for no reason in any way, shape, or form. Because if Christie felt that Gypsy was manipulated and really suffered some sort of trauma, which it's clear that this group doesn't believe that, okay? But that's what we believe. That doesn't mean that that's what Christie, believes. She would have to believe, for you to answer the statement that's in front of you. I mean, we would have to assume that Christie believes everything that we believe as a community, instead of believing that Gypsy was like
And
trying to save
they
herself.
believe in the Munchausen, like I said
And
earlier.
and that's
So,
what I'm saying, is that, so that's why that's a hard statement to answer, because, if it was self-defense, and we don't think it is, okay? We know we don't believe it is. But if it was self-defense and somebody was making money off of surviving self-defense, we would find that to be okay, right?
mhm,
So if that's what Christie's believing, then it changes the way she views it as opposed to the way that we view it, in
right.
all honesty. You know what I mean? Then
So there is another question I want to answer. Stiletto Cuts Quick says, Brandy, you and Tori did videos trashing Fancy, then you and Fancy did a live trashing Tori. How are you credible? So if you've paid attention to that, then you've also watched my video where I explain what happened with Tori and why I came back out after Tori, because there were things that I found out that Tori lied about, and not only lied about to me and about me, but was lying about Fancy. And we don't have to like Fancy, but it still wasn't right. There were things that went down, and that is a very long history and a long friendship between Fancy and Tori. They have been friends since 2016. So there were things that I didn't even know because it was way before my time, and things that I learned, and then things I found out after the fact. I mean, Tori did me really wrong on a business deal, and not just me, but the two other partners that she had. So when all of that came out, and then Fancy and I talked, and we started figuring out and putting pieces together. Now, I did come back the other day and apologize for blaming Tori and being involved with Dawn, because I actually believe that was the case. And Dawn said, no, Brandy, it wasn't, had anything to do with Tori. It was Amanda and Fancy. And I said, okay. So I did have to apologize to Tori for that. However, Tori has lied about things. And I've left those videos up because I still stand behind what we put out, because it was true on the stuff that I talked about. But there were other things that Tori had lied about between me and Fancy. There was fights between me and Fancy that Tori instigated that I had to learn about. So, learning that somebody's lied to you and coming out about that doesn't make you not credible. I mean, things change. And Tori is no better than Fancy. Tori is just like Fancy, except she's not vocal. She does it very quietly. Yes, I have. Yes, I've heard the baby.
Okay. I got to get ready to go to work here. I just want to see if there's any more questions.
Yeah, I was trying to skim it. And did we clear things up with Apple? Is she better? Did she understand what I was saying?
I think she left.
Apple, email me. I mean, I don't know. Email me.
I think she's left.
Okay.
At what point was, here we go.
Which time? This last time, honestly, it was Katie Joy. But what caused me to go public, because I wasn't going to fight with her publicly. I was just going to leave things alone and let it be. And when I saw the threat to Dawn, I lost my shit. And that was a serious breaking point for me. And it's the only reason I'm even speaking out anymore, because I really was just going to be done and walk away and just go do my thing and completely ignore her. And it just be over. And I did that for, I don't know what, a month and a half, until I got that.
No.
Has Christie's views? No. Christie doesn't watch a lot of it. She watches some of it. She doesn't watch a lot of it.
I don't know that you're able to answer some of the. I'm putting them up there.
That I'm really not able to answer a whole lot on. I do think there's going to be some of this explained in the series coming up. So I don't know.
In the show that we're going to watch on.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, good.
I'm hoping, because I know there's some things that I've learned. I don't know that I'm at liberty to talk about, because I didn't ask. But I will tell you, there are things on that Fancy exaggerated that I have been told was not told. She was told that wasn't true, and she still manifested more to things.
Not Fancy. Come on, man. Not Fancy.
I mean, I find that hard to believe, I'm sure. Trying to see if there's anything else super important we need to make sure, because I want to make sure everybody feels like they got things answered.
And I appreciate that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I mean, I know I'm not everybody's favorite, and I mean, that's okay. I've been on YouTube a while. I'm used to that. But Apple, okay. I mean, that was been a while. I didn't misquote because I didn't quote her.
So here's a question.
I mean, she knew what she was doing was wrong, and she was probably trying to prepare herself. I mean, I've never asked her that question.
That's fair. That's fair.
What about the threats to Nick?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what threats.
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew. I just figured I'd put that up there as a question. I don't think there were any threats to Nick except that he wasn't going to see the light of day. Is that the threat that you're talking about? Um,
That would have been Fancy's threat.
I guess I'm
And that
just
was before
guessing.
me. So I think if I answer it's gonna be an opinion based anyways. No, Christy doesn't babysit a lot. How will law enforcement know to ask for it? You have to offer it to them. They will be given my name, I'm sure.
Yeah,
And
I answered that. They know what to ask for. The police
right.
know what to ask. So I answered that. They know what to ask for. Do you know anything about Fancy's nonprofit? She has.
Okay, so the original nonprofit was the one she was working on with Amanda, and she took that over, and it pissed Amanda off. Amanda left, and she changed the name of it to Scope. And I know that I was told by Fancy, I have no proof of this because it was on a phone call, that the one way to make a paycheck was to have a nonprofit. So
Yeah, you shared that with me. M Cook, I think that it's a misunderstanding, and apparently Apple sent something to me which I will look at when I get to work because I'm not gonna have time to look at before. And I'm sure that it's something that will be squared away because I have nothing but respect for Apple, and there's no doubt that we'll square it away.
I don't know her to have any issues. So I don't. She's kind of been.
It
She's
kinda
been
looked like a
butthurt.
misunderstanding to me, but, she's gonna send me something, and asked her to send you something, so hopefully we'll square it out, and
Yeah.
hopefully that's all it was.
That's like I even told Belle a while ago. Her and Rez know how to contact me. We can squash this shit so we're not going at each other nonstop. Be adult about it. Don't just stop. MPG Cornerstone account. I don't know anything about it. They have me blocked. So they blocked me as soon as they had their account. I honestly do not know anything about it. I do know that anybody that's ever been involved in any of the Nick groups tends to get shady pretty quickly. They try to say they're supporting Nick, and it's never felt good. Any from 2019 on.
Dubes 8, I think that's you. I wanted to say thank you, you should know why. That was my thing. I brought that up because I wanted to say thank you. And they should know why. If they're the person that kept asking me if I was going somewhere, I went today. So, I'm hoping that's that person. If not, then it's a wrong person. What can I say? Who has the baby now? Do you know who's got the kid now that they're in LA? And if you don't know, then you could
I
say
do.
you don't
I do.
know. If you don't want
Christy's got the baby while they're in LA.
it, okay. So Christie's babysitting while they're in LA.
Yeah, the baby's too little to go to LA for all of that. And then that puts her at risk of being they don't want her photographed. And so that's I couldn't imagine taking a baby on that kind of trip. Mm-mm.
That's something that people are gonna, you know, I can't imagine not having my kid with me. I don't have any children, but I
My son and
but also
daughter-in-law go
there
do
would be an issue,
things.
just so you know. There would be an issue if she brought her child,
There would.
because why would she be taking such a young child? And I get that. I totally get that. I totally get that. That doesn't mean that I'm convinced there's still a kid. I
I
just want
know.
you
I
to know
know.
that.
I know. I
I
can
just
tell
want
you,
you to
I will
know
put my hand on a stack of Bibles and or whatever else. There's a baby. My daughter-in-law and son, they were leaving the baby with us, close, like her mom or me or my other daughter, um, when they would go do things. So it, and I was actually kind of shocked the first time. I'm like, oh, I get to keep him. Oh my God, you're actually letting me because she's very picky, and she I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, I'm gonna tell you here. that Fancy is responsible. I have no problem with saying that Fancy is responsible, and Fancy will throw people under the bus that weren't even anywhere around the bus.
She was putting people's full Facebook stuff up in not Discord, her Patreon, without taking people's names out. I had people messaging me going, "Oh my God, my name is in her Patreon," and they're not even on any of this anymore. Like they don't even know what's going on, and private information was out, and because she didn't care. I'm not necessarily throwing her under the bus. I mean, maybe I am. I don't know. But I'm also not going to take the hits for her bullshit.
And there's a lot of stuff coming down on this woman.
And I've taken the hits for my bullshit.
Let me ask you that. Let me ask you, I have two questions. One question is, has she always had the information that she has now as far as the Nick and Gypsy case? Has she?
Yes.
So there is no information that she ever got that was new. It just took her 7 years to get somewhere that took me 6 months to get. I mean, that's just the reality.
Yep.
So
and there are 2 years of medical records that she and no one else has, that they did not give her. When she says she has all of the medical records, that's a lie.
Right. I've heard that.
She's been told that time and time again.
Right.
Even Titania had told her, I can't give you these. I don't want you to have them. So she knows.
And she goes around telling people things that just aren't true.
Mm-hmm.
And then so the second question, it was, bless you, sunshine. The second question was about shit, where'd I go with it? Oh shit, I'm sorry. I don't remember what the second question was. So she had all the information that, oh, here it was. How come all of the stuff as far as Dawn Boker has just come out? Like, how'd that happen? Like at the perfect timing? Like, why did this stuff just come out? Or
I had actually mentioned this stuff last year, but I mean, at that time, everybody was pro Fancy, so nobody really wanted to pay attention, and it just kind of got covered up by everything else. And then I'm trying to think what brought it out. What did it come out on Morbids? Did somebody mention it? I don't even remember how it came out this time.
Well, what happened was content creators started getting this information. That's what happened to me. I just started getting flooded with things that I couldn't ignore. Like I don't
even know how it come out this go round.
Yeah, but by the time I got it, like, to be honest with you, we all got it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it became leaked information. I want to say it came out in the FOIA. How could it come out in a FOIA though? That's weird. I'll have to
see if I can figure out how it came out, because I don't even remember, because I remember Fancy calling me because it was right before. It was probably the week before I got the screenshots from Dawn, and she was like, "Did you hear what Toddie's doing?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she was like, "They're talking about all these emails with Dawn, and all this is coming out again. They're acting like it's new." And I said, "Girl, I was talking about this a year ago. What do they mean?" And she's like, "I know you did." And she got all pissy, and then all of a sudden, it was within a week, I had the messages from Dawn. I'm like, "Oh no, you don't." So I guess, and that was the reason why Dawn even reached out to Christie, because she was like, because I think Pink Hat had said that Christie bankrolled it, and she was like, she contacted him, was like, that's not what happened. What the hell? And
so that's not what she said, because I was on that podcast with her, and that was Into the Weeds podcast, and she said this is what she heard. She did say this is what she heard Fancy say. I mean, she did say that, because I remember we talking about this before, and I heard it. I actually had listened to it again, and she does say, well, this is what I heard Fancy say. So she didn't.
I know I heard her say that over here, but I didn't hear her, or with you, but I did not hear it, because I'll go back and listen again and see if that's what I heard, because I didn't hear her say I heard. I just heard her go into talking about it, but it freaked Dawn out, because Dawn was like, "What?" oh my God. And I'm like, I told Christie, I said, here's what's being said. And she was like, Fancy will spend anything. And so then it just kind of kept snowballing. And that was kind of how Dawn even reached back out. And she's like, why are they saying this? And so that's how she even contacted Christie this go round.
Okay. So, here's a question. Wait a minute. Where? Yep. Nope. There's the question.
I paid in 2021. I want to say, well, in 2019, I paid for things like I made cups and shipped them out to people. I probably have $100 there. It wasn't much, even though I wasn't a partner. In 2021, when I paid in, it was right around $500. The other ladies paid in a whole lot more. I didn't stay any longer to pay any more money when things went south, and and it really, I didn't even want to fight. I was just like, I can't do this. This is too chaotic. I'm over this. It's the same old thing. I'm gonna go do my own thing. Kind of. That was it. She lost her shit. And I could have demanded my money back, because if you're buying in as a partner, they have to buy you out. That's how that works. And I could have forced that issue, and it honestly, you're not going to get anything. You can't get blood out of a turnip.
Right.
Now there have been talks between a lot of us about a class action suit, but then again, what are we going to get?
Yeah, all you're gonna do is annoy her, which is fine. Does Christie want to sue Fancy for anything? There's the question.
They did. And I don't know why the lawsuit happened the way it did. That wasn't what I thought was going to happen. It's a lot of money and a lot of time. And in the end, she also knows that Fancy is being seen for who she is. And
what is she going to get from her? Again, what
right.
is it that you're going to get from her?
And Fancy has no credibility. I told Colleen that when Tori and I were talking to her, and she says, Brandy, I don't want to walk away and lose everything that I've done. And I said, what do you have? She's ruined your reputation. The people that we worked with in 2019 to 2020, they won't touch Fancy with a 10-foot pole. They want nothing to do with her. Those professionals want nothing to do with her.
I don't blame them.
Know that 100% fact, because I've asked.
Yep. No.
And when I've asked about different cases and I've tried to get an answer on things, they will say, are you still working? Is this for Fancy? And I'm like, no. I'm like, okay. They do not want to work with her. Do not want anything to do with her.
Well, you answered this question before, but this person came on later, so I just figured.
So the Nick infiltration, I did a search because I didn't remember a Nick infiltration group, because I came in late July and that all happened in June. So I did a search in my messenger chat to see if I had any Nick infiltration pop, and there was nothing. I wasn't in a Nick group. I wasn't in any of that. So because I didn't remember the group, so I'm like, did I just forget it? And so I did not see any of those groups. So no, I was not. I was part of trying to get Nick's story together and understand him better and help them, because look, this is going to be one of those things, people are going to run with this, but it's all right. They were doing a long live and they were on panel talking about BDSM, and they had every bit of it wrong and looked ridiculous. And I messaged Fancy and I said, good God, fix this. Can I help? And stepped in, and that was how I started my whole thing with them about trying to help them, because they looked ridiculous.
Okay. So,
I hope that answers that. I think that answered that?
Well, you didn't. You had nothing to do with the Nick infiltration group.
No, and like I said a while ago, Laura, you might not have heard. I have emails with Nick that I've never given over to Toddie has seen more than anybody else. And that was because I trusted Toddie and I wanted her to see what I had, my conversations with Nick.
Yeah, and I don't have that anymore, because I'm not going to hold on to something. My biggest fear is accidentally something being attached to something. So I tend to get rid of shit so that I don't have to worry about that, to be honest with you. So, so you paid to join into.
I paid to buy into a company as a part owner in 2021.
And now that company is just the Good Wives Network, basically. And there's
And it
just
wasn't the Good
fancy.
Wives Network then, it was still Mad Ginger.
Right. And don't bark. Hey, stop it. Hang on 1 second. You got to stop it. Let me give him something. I don't know if we're going to end this in a minute, but he's going to keep barking. So hang on 1 second. What are you barking about? I'll give you something. But then
Mr. Mayor, can you tell me about these books where he talks about what Christie has?
Come here.
Mustard, I don't know anything about that.
Come here, Danny. You want? Come here, Don. Come here. Come here, good girl. Hey, there. All right, there you go. There you go. And we'll go out in just a second, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna have to skedaddle and get them off and then get me off. So I think that we covered everything that I can cover. Is there anything that you want? I thank you for coming on to the channel. And I'm sorry about all the scrutiny here.
It's okay. Like I said, I knew it would be because I am in a different side of this community. And technically I kind of sit on the fence because I am friends with both sides. And it just is it is what it is, right? It just
right. Okay, so I don't know if you want to address this. I feel like you would, I don't know.
I don't know that I did, guys. When I did, and Toddie can say, I emailed Nick and told him what I found.
So she did give him warning. That's all I'm gonna say about the email.
Yeah,
She
I
did
gave
give
him
him
warning.
warning.
I told him
And I
that Don was
just
looking
so
for
you,
compensation.
and let me just say one thing, that this isn't something that could be faked, because I've written to Nick, and there's only, she wrote to him the same way I wrote to him, and that can't be faked. So, she told him, and it was well before this stuff came out. It wasn't just recently.
No, this was in 2019.
So,
and
I initiated the live by reaching out and asking, but we were communicating before. So it was just, I think, who asked first, basically, is all, because we've been communicating. So, but it was me that said, would you like to do a live? But I think with 2 sentences later might have been Brandy saying, hey, do you want to do a live? Because it wasn't anything anybody had to talk anybody into. So that's the answer to that question, Micah. They asked who initiated this, so. And that's about all I've got.
Guys, I mean, I may have misunderstood what I was told. I was going by what I was told with Apple, but I think Apple misunderstood me as well. So
yeah, I think that that's something, honestly, that could be squared away.
and I think
really
that
do.
other people need to quit agging it on and let me and Apple try to, because I seen people just kind of keep agging it on instead of letting Apple calm down.
That's true. Absolutely. I think that just let it. Yeah, we don't need to add more division. There's already division, and there's definitely no disrespect to Apple, and I'm not disrespecting Brandy. I think that that was a misunderstanding, and that's the way I'm going to go with it until I see something different, and that's it. And anyway, and I'm not even entertaining this about the baby, because here's the thing. We all know that I'm not sure that there's a real baby, but Brandy's saying that there's a real baby. So I'm not going to talk her out of that. Nobody's going to talk her out of that.
And here's the thing. I can prove that, but I'm not going to, because I am protecting that baby.
Well, it's not even your place, in my opinion, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying?
And I just think I think it's a weird subject for people to stress over. I just do.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna go, and thank you again. Thank you so much, and let's keep in touch, please. And if there's anything you need help with, I'm happy to help with that. Well, because they don't want the pictures of the baby. So that's what she's protection.
Yeah.
That you guys sometimes are just picking on words, man. Protection. I mean, like I see that, guys. That's like, come on. Guys, you got to do better than that. Anyway, I'm going to go and cuz I got to get ready
Have
to
a
go
good
to
night at
work.
work. Yeah, I'm sure my dogs are in there dancing in kennels.
Well, I thank you. Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for
And
having me.
I appreciate it. And we'll speak soon,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
All
Y'all
right.
have a good night.
All right. Take care, Brandy.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
All right. Bye-bye.